Hello, hello, hello. Oh, I forgot my headphones. Give me 1 second. Oh, shit. How are we all doing today, boys? We all doing fantastic. We doing good. Doing good, doing good. It's awesome. Give me 1 second, sorry. He's a family guy. Oh, Lucky's on. Awesome. I've been doing a lot of. I think they got like a subathon going on, which is really cool. Unfortunately, I can't sub because I'm already subbed. Let's see. He's a family guy. Sorry, I gotta make sure I put this in the Discord, which if you're not a part of, hey, it's in the description below. You can join. That way you're notified whenever I stream, what I'm doing. Sometimes big announcements, or if I have to change up the schedule, since sometimes just recently certain things on my stream don't work out. I was supposed to do an AFK Journey sponsorship for a while, but that just didn't work out. So I was like, I had to change up my whole schedule. So yeah, that's why we're doing SCP content today. He's a family guy. I hope I don't get like EMCA'd for just humming the theme song of Family Guy. He's a family guy. Pretty sure too. Spine's on. Noodles. Nice. Alrighty. Oh, wrong one. Nice. SCP Day 2, the Electric Boogaloo. I've been waiting to use that for a while, like something with Electric Boogaloo. Because recently I've been thinking about like what cool titles could rhyme with like 3, 4, 5, and 6. Because like 2 is always like Electric Boogaloo. But yeah. Anyways, who are we gonna be watching first? So, just in case, here's what's gonna go down. So first we'll be watching videos about the one and only Dr. Clef and his connections to SCP-4231 and 166, which I actually like a lot about Dr. Clef's lore, and those two happen to be the biggest part of his lore. So yeah, it's always good. It's good. Next up after that we'll be learning about SCP 3002, then SCP-1548, and then we'll be also learning about SCP-001, the Black Moon. After that, if we have enough time, I'm gonna hit up my brother, and we're gonna be doing some Elden Ring together, which is really nice, especially since like he's way better at it than me, which kind of sucks because I was playing it before him. So I should be better than him, but no, he's way better than me. He's already on Godfrey. I still haven't beaten the Fire Giant. Anyways. Oh, wait. Wrong way. Okay, let's do this. Oh, I forgot to do that. Oh, hold on. Let me exit off of... Oh. Down. Alright, sorry. He's a family guy. Nope, wrong way. Oh, come on now. Yep. I'm on YouTube now, aren't I? Oh, son of a whore. There we go. Okay, now I think I know what I did wrong. Oh, come on. Don't do this to me today. Not today. Alright. Hold on. Let's do this again. Yeah, there we go. Huzzah! Alright. TV down. Because last time I had it up by accident. Alrighty. Alrighty. Oakley dokley. Let's get this bad boy on. And oh my lord. Ugh. Alright. Better. Let's get it in.
Working for the SCP Foundation. Dr.
Start from the beginning.
Dr. Clef. We've already taken a look at one of the more well-known doctors working for the SCP Foundation, Dr. Bright. But an organization as large and as strange as the Foundation is bound to have more than one unusual individual working for it. Dr. Alto Clef is in many ways even more unusual than Dr. Bright, but overall doesn't have quite the same infamous reputation.
Interesting.
Various stories and tales.
I would assume Clef would have more.
A good number of years.
I would assume Clef would have more stories to tell about him than Bright, because I mean he's been a part of this kind of stuff for a long time. But then again, Bright's whole entire family is like, his brother's an SCP, so is his sister, and his dad was part of the old 5 Council, if I remember correctly. So it's always interesting to hear that, like, I always thought Clef would be more, have more depth to him than Bright did, but I think Bright does indeed actually have more.
And it can be difficult to paint a cohesive picture of the character. I'll attempt to provide a small summary of some of Dr. Clef's more notable interactions and potential bits of his history, but keep in mind there are a great number of stories being left out of this summary.
I wonder which one.
To begin with, Dr. Clef's backstory is among the most mysterious things in the SCP universe.
Alright, hold on. He says he's gonna leave out some stories. I wonder which ones, because he better not leave out Montauk House or SCP-166, because those are, I feel like those are pretty important to, if you want to understand about Clef. So yeah, I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. Alright, let's continue.
Which is saying quite a bit. Mostly due to the fact that Clef has a reputation for being a notorious liar.
Yeah.
The most common element of his backstory, though, is that prior to becoming a doctor working for the SCP Foundation, he actually worked for the Global Occult Coalition as a field agent.
It's always interesting.
According to his GOC personnel file, he was recruited to the GOC in 1981 as Agent Ukulele.
Agent
and had his
81?
first confirmed kill a year later, taking down something called the Hillsborough Beast, despite severe losses to his team, earning him the Silver Aegis Commendation.
Oh, I wonder what that means.
In 1986, though, he was tasked with containing something referred to as xenobiological hemorrhagic prion.
Whoa.
Sort of alien disease, which he failed to do, resulting in an unknown amount of deaths. Afterwards, he went on a sabbatical from work until 1989.
He was on a sabbatical? That's wild. I think it's so funny. I think it's so funny that people in the SCP universe still have vacation days, knowing, like, I wonder if any of my colleagues have died recently to, like, 682 or something while I'm off work, spending time with my family or something.
Promoted to a special operative. In the 90s, he had a confirmed kill on something called the Goddess, but was unable to confirm a kill on a related entity called the Daughter. We'll get back to that in a minute.
Yes, we better.
In the 2000s, he confirmed his 99th kill of a threat entity, and
99th
from active duty, which was granted. An unknown amount of time passed, during which apparently he disappeared from the GOC, but he eventually resurfaced, now working for the SCP Foundation as Dr. Alto Clef.
I think next stream, I think we'll learn about the other organizations, because there's the Global Occult Agency, as I think that's what it's called, the Global Occult, the SCP. Then there's the Chaos Insurgency, and then there's another one I can't remember. It was like Dark and Cutter or something. I don't know. I forgot. But we'll learn about more of those next stream.
His personnel file also mentions his aptitude with various firearms, demolitions, and vehicle handling. His alterations and talents include a standard optics array and standard longevity treatments, as well as a resistance to standard photography techniques. Clef's face apparently can't be photographed in any way, appearing on camera as some sort of animal head instead. The reason for this, among many other things, is a mystery. Ultimately, what this personnel file tells us, though, is that Dr. Clef was a highly talented and decorated field agent working for the GOC before suddenly retiring and joining the SCP Foundation instead.
This has to be one of the most badass characters ever.
Let's go back to that confirmed goddess kill from the 90s, referred to as the Cornwall incident.
Mm-hmm.
Clef was dispatched as the lead of a strike team to Cornwall, England, to take down a nature goddess and her followers.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. In England? Is it England or New England? Because I think every time I've seen Clef, they've portrayed him as American, at least from what I've seen. Because then there's the every iteration I've seen, he's been American. But if he's British, that kind of makes sense, because if I remember watching one SCP animated video where they talked about just a teenage Gaia, she definitely had like a British or Irish accent, so it would make sense. But that's weird. I never thought about that.
The goddess was intent on completing some sort of magical ritual that would revert humanity back to a pre-industrial state. The strike team completed the mission successfully, with Clef himself pulling the trigger on the goddess. But the mission log notes that there was no confirmation on the death of the daughter of the goddess. What actually happened was that Clef had the chance to kill the daughter, but chose not to, instead taking her to a local convent with ties to the GOC. The intent was for her to grow up unaware of her nature and hopefully live a normal life. But years later, she inadvertently caused the death of a bystander. The GOC swooped in and marked her for termination, as is their nature. But Clef intervened. Although retired from active duty,
For the one I saw, okay, there's always multiple different versions of SCP stories, but the one I saw, someone saw her in like the church, told, and then the SCP got involved, and then they took her away. I had no idea there was a version of this where she actually fucking killed somebody. That's interesting though. But I wonder if that had to have affected her, because if she was growing up around humans, then yeah.
he still had connections and managed to take the girl away, bringing her to the one organization with the capability to protect her, the SCP Foundation. Unaware to most, however, is that Clef met that nature goddess a number of years ago, when he was much younger.
That's a weird version of Clef.
Lost in the woods and met a girl with antlers in her hair and hooves for feet. The daughter, as you've guessed, is his. He hoped to give her a normal life and keep her existence somewhat a secret in the convent, but it wasn't to be. He then brought her to the Foundation, and shortly after, left the GOC and joined the Foundation to be closer to her. Within the SCP Foundation, the daughter is listed as SCP-166, the teenage succubus.
Okay, so I think he's reading the old. I think he might be getting the old version, because they had to change that up, because I forgot why, but she wasn't the succubus anymore. She was a teenage Gaia. So yeah. But then again, there's a whole. I remember just actually last night reading a theory that like it's possible the goddess, the nature goddess, isn't actually her mother, and people are still going off the succubus version. So that would mean that it's actually. Hold on, who is it? It's which SCP is it? It's SCP 336 that could be SCP-166 is mother, or at least that's what one of the theories is, because the whole incident report had Clef talking to Lilith in Sumerian, and he was saying that he never stopped loving her, and she said the same thing. And if she is actually a succubus, depending on which version you read, if she's actually a succubus, it could be she's actually Lilith's daughter. If she's a teenage Gaia, it's definitely, in my preferred opinion, it's definitely SCP-4231 that is the mother of 166. Of 166.
166's primary anomalous property activates when viewed by any human male, which causes 100% of them to attempt immediate sexual contact. This can often lead to an obsession after being removed from 166's presence, which generally requires death to cease. The nuns at the convent in Cornwall say that the girl was brought to them by a person of indistinguishable features, who claimed that she was the offspring of an elder creature of great power. The convent life led 166 to become highly religious, and she has requested religious books, rosaries, access to a Catholic priest, and so on. Her anomalous property brings her even more grief with her religious principles in mind. There are also some clues to her connection to a nature goddess in her description, which states that wearing any clothing quickly leads to sores breaking out, a vulnerability to any airborne particulate matter such as cigarette smoke, and she requires no typical sustenance. The accident that led to her leaving the convent occurred when a young man sneaked into the convent to visit another novice and accidentally saw 166. He became violently obsessed, eventually killing a nun and injuring 3 others before being killed.
Jesus.
This is where there's a slight discrepancy. The author, in a separate post, says that the GOC intended to kill 166 at this point, and Clef saved her by bringing her to the Foundation. The 166 article, however, claims that a Foundation operative heard of the incident, realized 166's property, and brought in a female agent who negotiated her transfer. It's impossible to say what the truth is, but in my opinion, the former seems far more likely due to Clef's connection with the girl. The 166 article ends with a letter that was found in the girl's containment suite.
I remember this.
The writer of the letter says that he first met 166's mother when she was a girl, and she had hooves for feet and starlight in her eyes. She wanted to take humanity back to Eden, a state of being, instead of a place. He doesn't regret killing her, but he does regret that the first time he met 166 was when he was putting a bullet into her mother's head.
Oh, yeah.
He hopes that she forgives him. He's sorry that she couldn't stay with the kind and loving people of the convent, but he promises to make her stay here pleasant and to keep her safe. He wishes her a happy 16th birthday.
Aww.
This letter then links us to another article titled A Suicide Note, also written by Dr. Clef, which brings us to another major topic of discussion about Clef. The note begins with Clef stating his intention to kill himself, although he's unsure if he can even die. He ponders if he is actually Satan, and wonders if his punishment for defying God is never being able to interact with anomalies. We learn that rather than being a reality bender, Clef is a reality anchor, or claims to be. He can't see ghosts, or things that qualify as deities, demons, or anything else from outside of our universe, and they can't see him either. He can't be affected by reality benders, although he can touch them. He can't operate any anomalous machinery, and he can't walk into any alternate universe, despite attempts being made at all of these things. He says he's only been able to interact with 3 anomalies in his life, all of them female. The first was the love of his life, and he was told to kill her by the GOC.
Yeah, okay, there was that one.
He refused and ran from the GOC and pledged his services to the Foundation if they provided amnesty for her. He's not referring to 166 here, so this somewhat contradicts what we've previously heard. He interjects to talk about the first reality bender he killed, a 12-year-old girl that brought her doll to life because she was lonely and needed a friend.
Oh, cut
He
fucking
had
A.
to run her over with a car.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. I had no idea about that. That has to fucking... That has to be fucked up. But I wonder if he was, like, hesitant to do it. Or he just... If he straight up just did it, I'm gonna be like, alright, Clef, you fuck you for that. That's kind of really fucked. If he hesitated and... No, okay, there's no other way around this. No, I fucking hate him for this. No, for sure, because that's kind of... No, that's extremely fucked. Because if she wasn't doing nothing, what the fuck did he kill her for?
The second anomaly he interacted with was his daughter, 166, known to him as Epon. He's, of course, immune to her effect, but he remarks that he knew she was his daughter the instant he saw her, as she has her mother's eyes.
Oh.
She's being held against her will for the simple reason that she was born, and she doesn't deserve it. The third anomaly he's interacted with is SCP-239, who he refers to as Sigaros. Let's pivot then before we come back to that suicide note, and discuss SCP-239, as the interaction between her and Clef is rather notable. SCP-239 is a young girl with shimmering eyes.
Wasn't she called the witch?
Anything she expresses a will to do. If that sounds rather powerful, that's because it is. She is, for all intents and purposes, a reality bender of the highest magnitude. Although so far, she only affects things that she can see. In fact, her power seems to only be limited by her youth and innocence.
Oh, that's crazy.
The Foundation told 239 that she was a witch, only capable of using her abilities by casting from a pre-approved list of spells created by the Foundation.
See, okay, look, okay, if the SCP organization did this with a bunch of kids they took in that, like, had these abnormality powers, fucking reality bending and shit, if they told this, and because kids are fucking gullible, they would fucking believe it, which is definitely what she did, if I remember correctly.
239's self-preservation instincts still make her incredibly dangerous, however. And indeed, she first came to the Foundation's attention 3 hours after she was born.
Oh,
shit. And the hospital was destroyed by an unexplained explosion. She was found as the only survivor amidst the rubble. Despite the witch plan preventing escape attempts and curtailing her from developing her abilities on her own, Clef still submits a proposal for 239's termination.
What for?
He proposes that since 239's skin is typically impenetrable due to her abilities, a piercing element be constructed with SCP-148.
Hold on. Okay, 148? Let's look at this one. SCP-148. Which one is this one? Oh, the telekill alloy. Okay, now I also want to know about this. This looks interesting. Alright. Interesting.
148 is an anomalous metallic substance normally capable of hindering mind-affecting properties of
oh, so he was going to explain it. Okay.
It also has been shown to be capable of penetrating 239's skin. Clef mentions that one of the dangers of this procedure is that 239 will wake up and perceive the operative as a friend, changing reality to match. Since he himself is immune to her effects, he volunteers for the operation. This leads us to the log for Incident 239-B, detailing Clef's attempt. This is a rather lengthy log, so I'll be keeping just the important bits.
Yeah.
We learn that Clef had sent his termination proposal over unsecured channels, and it had reached several staff members at the site where 239 is held. These staff members, possibly subtly altered by 239 to be her friends, took action to prevent Clef from carrying out his proposal. This forces Clef to act as quickly as possible before someone alerts 239 of his plan, which could have devastating and unforeseen consequences.
Yeah, because you're going to kill a fucking little girl, dude.
He is upset at the other members of the Foundation for not neutralizing the girl sooner, blaming their leniency on the fact that she's a young girl.
Get no shit.
Clef
Maybe, you know, okay, here's the problem I have with Clef's mindset here is the fact that, okay, you want to kill a little girl who has so far done nothing wrong except accidentally be born and explode a hospital, which probably was out of her fucking control. Yet you have a daughter that has kind of the same effects, and you're unwilling to kill her, yet you killed her mother. Now, I get it. It's his own flesh and blood. And this is just some random girl he never met, so he probably won't feel anything by doing it, but it's still a fucked mindset. Like, come on, dude. The reason the SCP is there is to contain these monsters, and while, yes, most of what I've seen, they're sometimes assholes to the SCPs that are, regular, or that are, I guess, normal in a sense, where they're not attacking each other and everything else. I mean, they're still kind of dickheads to, like, the ones that are just human and trying not to actually cause problems. But, I mean, at least they're fucking kind of treating them a little bit better than what they do with other SCPs. And if they give them the chance, she could be turning into a powerful weapon that the SCP Foundation can use to save themselves from certain situations. I'm fucking dead serious. Like, has no one thought, like, maybe we can train her to grow up to kill 682? Just saying. If she doesn't like 682, reality bender out of here. I'm just fucking saying. Come on, people.
Site, neutralizing security with tranquilizers, and makes his way towards 239. Unfortunately, by his account, 239 seems to already be warping the local reality of the site. Clef's main opposition at the site is a fellow doctor.
That image goes hard.
Rocky, who will probably get his own video at some point.
I need to learn about him. He's one of the only doctors I haven't learned
other
about.
SCPs in the process, and other doctors, Dr. Gears, Dr. Bright, and Dr. Crow, get involved as well.
Whoa. They get involved? They're trying to stop him? Okay, if Bright is stopping you, you know you fucked up. If Bright's telling you, yo, dude, you gotta chill, okay? Take a couple of breaths. That's where I'm like, okay, I will. But Clef is just like, fuck it, starts fucking still blasting.
Gears fetches 239 and tells her that Dr. Clef has been overtaken by a mass of formless evil known as the Great Darkness. He tells her that he is an over-council wizard, and Kondraki is a swordsman, and the three of them must subdue Clef and drive the evil from him. He also grabs a Chinese dictionary, claiming that it's an emergency spellbook, which can only be used by two wizards at the same time, and only when the Great Darkness is around. He tells her this story in order to maintain containment on her abilities.
Yeah, good.
And she, of course, believes it.
You see? Yeah, it's easy.
239 proceeds to encounter Clef and casts Magic Missile under instruction by Gears.
Goddamn!
Which causes great pain to Clef. It also inadvertently causes a mass of black light to issue forth from Clef's body, taking the shape of a massive dragon. This would seem to be an unintended side effect of 239's imagination. The dragon causes a large amount of damage to the site before being killed by Dr. Crow, using another SCP in the form of a Sword of Light.
Oh, cool.
239, meanwhile, is sedated by Dr. Gears, and afterwards she is placed into a medically induced coma indefinitely.
Aww.
A post-incident interview between Kondraki and Clef has Clef implying that he is Satan, and that 239 is an incarnation of God, before breaking out into laughter. It's unclear, of course, exactly what Clef is telling the truth about, as he seems to lie about most things.
Yeah, so.
The entire incident is, of course, rather ridiculous, as was often the case at that time of SCP writing. Which brings us back to the suicide note, where Clef discusses the incident. He says that 239 terrified him because he could feel her in his mind, and if she could get into his head, she could do anything. He admits that he didn't need some fancy piercing implement to kill her, as even a sharp stick would work in his hands. He thinks the entire incident occurred as it did because 239 was just toying with them. It had made everyone act like idiots just for a laugh, and it had been doing it for years. He then says that she's dead now, after he injected her with a cocktail of both mundane and anomalous substances, causing her to literally melt. He claims that people have started to act normally again, released from her influence. But
Mm-hmm.
he knows that the Foundation is going to find out sooner or later that he murdered her. That's why he's going to commit suicide first. And he ends the note by saying that, assuming he can go to hell, he'll see everyone there someday. This note was found in Clef's office following the sounds of gunshots. Despite Clef's blood and some brain matter being found in the office, his body has not been recovered and his status is unknown.
Oh, shit.
The nature of canon in the SCP universe is already incredibly loose.
Okay, so hold on. I guess he's reading the original incident report, but then why didn't he bring up 336? Because wasn't she there to stop him as well? Or is that like a different type of canon? Oh my gosh, this is the one thing I hate about the SCP lore, is that like there's no such thing as canon. I'm like, let there be canon for different universes. Come on. I need some hard evidence, man.
And when you combine that with Clef's infamous reputation for lying about practically every aspect of himself, it's quite difficult to discern any sort of truth. Is Clef actually Satan? I'll leave it up to you, but according to the author, the answer is maybe. He says that Clef doesn't have red horns or reign over hell, but he does rebel against God, and he did cast humanity out of Eden. This brings up the possibility of Clef being Adam rather than Satan, but it seems we won't get any clear answers. Clef's immunity or nullification of most
Hold on, no, hold on, because when I read the incident report about 239, he was talking about how Adam preferred Eve over Lilith, who was more strong-willed, and he definitely was referring to himself as the devil. But if it's true that he's not the king of hell, and isn't ruling over hell at all, but cast humanity out of Eden, I think there's a different meaning to that, such as he killed the goddess who was going to bring back people to the state of being of Eden, like the state of mind. So, in a sense, he technically is the devil because he stopped her from completing whatever ritual she was going to do. So, in a sense, he is the devil. And the goddess is, well, either God or Eve and Adam. And not only that, he is locking up Eden, in a sense, by having his daughter contained. Because I'm going to go with the lore that she's the teenage Gaia, not the succubus. So, yeah. But interesting.
Often mentioned when discussing the character, and there are a number of examples. One of the most notable, perhaps, is when Clef was locked in the same containment cell as SCP-682, the hard-to-destroy reptile. Clef and 682 continually stared at each other as Clef placed some explosives on the containment door, causing a containment breach. Despite the opportunity to escape, 682 continued to stare at Clef until he had engaged the secondary emergency doors, recontaining 682. The reason for this odd interaction between the two is left unexplained, but it's extremely outside of 682's typical nature. Clef had also given a seminar to Foundation agents about dealing with reality benders. Ultimately, he tells the agents to forget about containing or reasoning with them, and to just kill them before they even know you're there. Clef, of course, has an unfair advantage compared to the rest of the agents, however. Dr. Clef is certainly an interesting character, although there are tales which paint him as more over-the-top and less serious than other tales, much like Dr. Bright. Ultimately, it's up to reader interpretation, much like most things in the SCP universe. Self-insert characters walk a fine line between being interesting and being gratuitous. As this is only a short summary of a large number of tales related to the character, it's probably not fair to judge simply based on this video. But either way, Dr. Alto Clef has cemented his place in SCP history.
Oh, what's the quote? Item 138. Dr. A. Clef's actions during this incident directly caused the deaths of several SCP's Foundation personnel and the destruction of a large portion of Site-17. In addition, Dr. Clef has demonstrated several non-standard interactions with female SCPs, namely SCP-091. Okay, hold on. Let me look up these SCPs. SCP-091-R. Because I haven't heard of these ones, but it's... Whoa, what's this one? The female tree? Excuse me? This one's the female tree. What is this one about? Ah, okay, hold on. With interactions with... What do you mean by non-standard? Because 166 is here, and I'm pretty sure that's more just like he's trying to bond with her since it's her daughter. But SCP-336 is here, and as far as I'm concerned, they're another side of a lover's quarrel. But 091 ARC is interesting since I didn't know about that one, but I do know about these two. As 166 is his daughter, but 336 is possibly another lover of him. So, proposal. In light of these facts and Dr. Clef's own words during the incident, Dr. Otto Clef is to be classified as an elusive class humanoid SCP and secured at Site-17. SCP number and containment procedures will be assigned at a later date. Priority Alpha. Interesting. Is there any other quotes? Or was that it? No, that's it. Alrighty. Let's see. Let's bring up then. Let's see. I think next up, I think we'll talk about 166. Was the original SCP-166 as bad as they say? This is that one. Teenage Gaia. Is that one too? Teenage Succubus, Teenage Gaia. There's a lot. I think the one I want to watch. Where is it? Yeah. Oh, there it is, right there. I like this one.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Buck.
Like I said,
Today
man, she was
we are
kind
going
of
to be
bad.
discussing SCP-166, otherwise known as Teenage Succubus.
They're still calling her Teenage Succubus?
SCP-166 is a European female human in its late teens with ungulate features, possessing antlers, hooved feet, and a short tail reminiscent of Rangifer tarandus, more commonly referred to by the colloquial term reindeer. Despite these obvious abnormalities, DNA analysis reveals no abnormal genetic traits. SCP-166 is contained in Biocontainment Zone C at Site-19, which has been modified to include a hermetically sealed antechamber and an industrial-strength air purifier. Containment staff must wear the specifically designated 166 biohazard suits at all times when inside SCP-166's containment area. Due to SCP-166's unique physiological needs, a variety of loose-fitting organic cotton clothing has been provided to be rotated monthly. All meals are to be cooked according to the guidelines provided, with as little inorganic additives as possible. Reasonable requests for personal items and modifications to the containment suite must be approved personally by Site Director Light. To date, SCP-166 has been granted the following items.
I wonder if she's
requested.
canon to the rest of the
A
SCP
copy
lore.
of the Holy Bible, Douay Rheims Challoner revision, a Catholic rosary, access to a Catholic priest for confession, mass, and other sacraments. Chaplain Davis has been scheduled to meet with SCP-166 on alternating Sundays after a thorough decontamination process, and various books and magazines, mostly religious in nature. SCP-166 is a destructive, yet non-violent force. Within a 15-meter radius of SCP-166, artificial objects gradually return to an unworked state. Higher complexity objects like electronics or vehicles are affected quicker, with degradation of their metallic components causing catastrophic structural failure in a matter of hours. Rudimentary materials, such as stone buildings or products made of organic materials, decay at a virtually imperceptible rate. Within the same radius, plant life will begin to sprout, often growing in improbable places such as out of security cameras or ID scanners. SCP-166 possesses a possibly anomalous sensitivity to artificial material and pollutants, with inhalation or contact causing pressure ulcers and symptoms of acute asthma attacks. In one case, physical proximity to a smoker caused SCP-166 to undergo a severe asthma attack.
I thought
even
that Bright's
though the doctor
there.
at the time had not.
Do you think Bright's there to keep an eye on her because he's friends with Clef? Like, he's just giving reports about, like, yeah, your daughter's doing good, man. Because that'd be cool. Because that'd be, like, a real homey situation.
Smoked for 3 weeks. SCP-166 was discovered at the Our Lady of Mercy Convent in County Galway, Ireland, where it had lived since infancy. It was confirmed by a defecting Global Occult Coalition agent to be the child of threat entity 9927 Black, the Goddess, also known as SCP-4231-A, who was terminated by a GOC strike team in what would be known as the Cornwall Incident. The GOC description of SCP-166 is as follows. Threat entity is the child of incarnated LTE-9927 Black, the Goddess, and an unknown father. While it strongly resembles its mother and shares its animalistic features, it lacks the extreme bestial appearance of 9927 Black. It possesses minor chlorokinetic abilities, but primary reason for threat entity classification is the instinctive knowledge and eligibility to enact occult procedure clockwork Black Child Havila, a worldwide ritual working that would irreversibly regress human civilization to Neolithic standards. Strike Team Lancelot neutralized 9927 Black in England during an operation which would later be known as the infamous Cornwall Incident, but were unable to confirm the liquidation of 9927 Blackchild due to the death of the strike leader, Agent Ukulele. Ukulele was posthumously awarded the Silver Aegis for his lifelong service to humanity. As many of you already know, Agent Ukulele is none other than the Foundation's own Dr. Clef. Before Clef's defection, he was able to smuggle SCP-166 into a Catholic convent.
See, this is where I learned the
Galway,
lore
Ireland.
for Clef a little
It lived
bit.
there until the age of 12, at which point a visitor to the convent accidentally witnessed SCP-166 and reported it to authorities. The agent then contacted the Foundation, agreeing to share GOC intelligence in return for the guaranteed safety and containment of SCP-166.
Which most
The
likely was
following
Clef.
is an excerpt from one of SCP-166's many scheduled conversations with Chaplain Davis.
Good morning, child.
Good morning, Father.
As usual, I have to remind you that due to our environment, the seal of confession will not take place unless specifically invoked. Even then, details of our conversation can be unsealed if they're determined to be essential. Understand?
Mm-hmm.
I like the voice acting in here.
Now, how are you doing?
Good. One of the staff told me about Benedict yesterday. Is that true?
Ah yes, that was rather unfortunate, but it does make sense. He was rather old, even when he first took up the position. Now he can rest, knowing he served the church well.
I guess so.
I'm sensing a question arising, child. What is it?
It's just... I wanted to ask you something, though it might be a little personal. I was just wondering, do you have a good relationship with your parents?
My mother, yes, before she passed away. I visited her once a month at the retirement home, plus her birthday and holidays. Told her I was a chaplain serving in the military, which I suppose is somewhat close to the truth.
And your father?
That is a rather more complicated question. He was a good man, a soldier, who held three things dearly: God, country, and family. Unfortunately, he held those convictions rather severely, which resulted in some heated discussions. I love him still, but this way is best for everyone. And what about your parents? I know you lived in the convent, but before that...
I never really knew them. I got dropped off when I was a baby. I mean, I guess I must have known the sisters if they put me there, but I don't remember them. Just what I picked up. They mentioned my mother a bit, before they realized they should watch what they say about me. I think they said something about her being a goddess, which obviously wouldn't be true. She must have been some sort of spirit, but oof, she must have been something if I ended up looking like this. I remember eavesdropping on the abbess. She was talking to one of the other sisters about how she'd done something wrong. Something about a ritual that someone else stopped. They said she died.
Sorry for your loss.
It's not like I knew her.
And your father?
I don't know. He must have been the one who dropped me off at the convent, but why there? Why didn't he take me with him?
I think that's so
I'm
sad.
sure
She
he had
wants
his
to know.
reasons.
Maybe. You know, they never talked about him. Not once. I must have asked the abbess 1,000 times, but she never mentioned a hint of him. Me mother was so horrible. What did me father do?
That's kind of sad. That's really sad. She's like saying, if my mother was bad, I wonder what my father did, and that's kind of sad because I think I like Clef. I like the interpretation of Clef that he's a strong, hard man that has been through so much. Because if I remember correctly, certain interpretations about the goddess say that she became very abusive in their relationship, and he was willing to stay with her because he didn't want to be alone. And he's strong-willed for sure, but I think he's troubled. He has problems for sure.
On May 8th, 2013, the following note was discovered within SCP-166's containment area.
I first met your mother when we were little more than children. She had hooves for feet and starlight in her eyes. She was beauty and nature incarnate, and I killed her with my own 2 hands. Eden isn't a place, it's a state of being. They wanted to take us back to it, and I stopped them. I took paradise away from us for a second time. I have never regretted my actions on that day, except one. Though when you first met me on that day, you saw your father put a bullet into the head of your mother. I make no excuses, only explanation. You may not have even remembered it, but I'm telling you now in the hope you understand why I did what I did. I hope you forgive me. I love you. I wish I could have done more for you. The best I could do was leave you in the hands of kind and loving people and hope they would raise you in my place. From what I've seen, they did well. I'm sorry you couldn't stay with them. I'm sorry they brought you to this place. I promise to do my best to make sure your stay here is pleasant. I promise to keep you safe.
Oh,
Happy
man.
16th birthday from your loving father.
That hurts me so much in the feels.
While I have my own suspicions of who the father of SCP-166 is, I dare not comment on it due to the Foundation's reluctance to publish any documentation on the matter. Make no mistake, SCP-166's degenerative nature, it is capable of undoing centuries' worth of mechanical and technological advancements. But what might be even scarier is the mysterious and potentially divine nature of her lineage. Here is a previously redacted article about the disciplinary action of an unnamed Foundation employee.
Which we all know is actually Clef.
What the hell were you thinking?
I wanted to make sure she's all right. You wouldn't let me talk to her. I took another route.
What you did was so much worse than that. If you just stuck to throwing your weight around to get her amenities, sure, I could overlook that. But you then go about trying to give a Class 4 anomaly a phone line to the outside world? I mean, the council already dislikes you working at the same site as her. If this gets out, you can kiss whatever deal you made goodbye.
Come on, Sophia, she's harmless. The only reason she's in there is because of me. I had to do something. Was the Foundation just gonna let her grow up thinking that her?
Before you say another word, remember that this will be public to everyone with a Class 4 clearance. I can redact your name, but I can't stop people from putting the pieces together from an ill-timed outburst.
16 years. 16 years where she couldn't walk through a city, or catch a movie, or just go shopping. Doesn't matter if she's in a convent or a Foundation cell. She's being locked up for something she had no choice in. All because of me. It isn't fair.
I know.
And I can't do anything about it. I could send a strike team anywhere in the world. I know secrets that the most powerful people in the world would pay billions for, and yet I can't even so much as talk to her, let her know that she's not alone.
You've done the best you could. Much more than anyone could have expected of you in an impossible situation.
Funny how little that makes of a difference. You know, I don't care. Just wrap me up. Let's just get this over with.
Oh, man.
I'm scheduling you for 6 2-hour sessions with the Foundation psychologist. I'll make sure it's class. He signs off at the end of it. We can expunge this from your record.
Oh, that's it, Feels. Hold on, I gotta take a break. I gotta take a break. I gotta go see if my, I gotta go get a drink. Cause that, oh, man. Oh. Such a sad thing, him being so. Oh, shit, bruh. I didn't even realize you were here. My bad, dude. Oh, my bad, man. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't even realize you were here, man. I was so focused on this. Oh, I'm gonna chat this. We haven't watched 423 yet. Let's see. It's much more of a member of the magical community. Okay. Okay, cool. So he actually does have a video about that. Yeah, okay. We're gonna do that next. We're gonna do that next. Sorry, bro. I didn't realize you were here. My bad. SCP. Oh, fuck me. Hold on. Fuck. What's the name? I always forget the goddamn name. Let's see. SCP-4231-A. SCP-4231-A. There we go. Alright. Jesus.
SCP.
I'm gonna be right back. I'm so sorry, bro, that I didn't realize you were here. That's my bad. Sedage. What the fuck? Alright, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get a drink. And then we'll head on to it. Sorry, I had to get my drink. A whole carton of peach punch. On problem? No. Let's see. Oh my lord. There we go. Yeah. Alright. But I was looking on stream. Oh, it's so good. It smells so good. I love this stuff. Anything peach flavored is really always sweet. Alright. Alrighty. I did see that. I looked that up the other day, and I saw that it was really long, and I'm like, I'll just watch it. I'll get the cliff notes from some video on YouTube. Alright. Let's begin, shall we?
P-4231, the Montauk House. The SCP universe is a lot of things, at different times and for different people. It's a universe that contains the inspirational, the humorous, the amazing, and the mundane, much like our own. But perhaps above all, it contains the dark. Much of what I've discussed throughout this series has been horrific, depressing, terrifying, awful, and dark. Whether or not the SCP we'll be looking at today is at the top of that list is ultimately subjective, but it indisputably contains all of those darker concepts. In truth, I'm doing the article a disservice by summarizing it, as it contains some really impressive writing, but I do what I do, so we'll move on.
I think I'll read it in my spare
I highly
time.
recommend watching both of my previous videos on the Scarlet King and Dr. Clef. As
3
this
videos?
SCP connects to
Oh my
Clef,
gosh.
the Scarlet King, SCP-231, and SCP-231-7. Let's dive in.
I think I'll read it in my own spare time because
4231 is not
I'm not gonna
presented
do it
like
on
a
stream,
normal
that's for
SCP
sure.
document, although normal is a little relative at this point. Instead, it's presented as a series of different articles, more akin to a tale.
Oh.
It starts us in 1989, as a Foundation commander, Alan Hall, has just led a team of personnel into the town of North Axis, Cornwall, in southwest England. The team went in after a nearby Foundation site received a phone call in their response and dispatch office, sent through a radio signal picked up by their sweeps. That radio signal was normally only used by Foundation responders, and Hall says he had no personnel dispatched at the time, leading him to believe that the signal was of anomalous origin. The call consisted only of the sound of rushing water. With little to go on, and suspecting it was possibly just a computer error, Hall hung up and returned to work. The next day, however, the site received another call, again with the sound of rushing water. This time, Hall ordered the signal's origin to be triangulated, which led them to North Axis. Under
Different channels. Okay.
This alone would not warrant any further investigation, as the signal was not coming from Foundation equipment. But since the signal did show abnormal background radiation consistent with unstable Hume fields, they sent a team in. I've mentioned Hume levels before, but basically it's a measurement of the state of reality in an area.
Oh, okay.
Our baseline normal reality has a stable Hume level, and if a measurement shows...
There's a Japanese guy covering all of this? That's crazy.
It means something is messing with reality in the area. Something or someone.
Like, was it actually in Japanese, or was it just like, or was it just like some Japanese guy talking about it?
On the way there, he begins thinking about his time in college when he worked at a meat packing plant. He didn't mind the slicing and butchery, but he did mind the smell.
Yeah.
He recalls the visceral stench of the gore that he had to continually toss into a grinder. And he remembers thinking that once he was done with that place, he would never smell that stench again. He thinks about this because as the team approaches North Axis,
that's nice.
that same aroma of gore and death rises up and grows stronger as they come closer. Some members of the team begin to panic at the smell, wondering how many rotting bodies it would take for the smell to reach that far.
Jesus.
Outside of the town, they come to a halting stop due to a rotting horse carcass blocking the road. The following section explains what happened after the fact, written many years later in 2014, referring to the event as the Cornwall Incident. North Axis was a town of roughly 1,000 residents, and it had a history with the occult. The dead horse...
Jesus, 1,000 people sounds like such low numbers these days. No worries about it. No worries about it, bro. You're fine. Trust me. It's all good. Trust me. We all had shitty Wi-Fi, so you know I don't mind it. You don't have to respond right away either. It's all good. I know you're gonna respond, coming with your own little comments. It's all good.
The horse in the road is not only severely rotted, but also desiccated, drained of moisture, which is fairly abnormal. The team called for backup. The horse is moved, and they continue closer to the town. Not long after, they come across another body, this time of a desiccated man in his early 40s. Again, the body is moved and they continue, finding plenty more bodies. A few hours after the team went out there, another Foundation site in Ireland is contacted to send in multiple squads, presumably because the London site has already sent in a bunch. North Axis is a quarantine crime scene, the site of the most deadly reality bender massacre in history.
Jesus.
1,200 dead. 1,000 of these were residents of North Axis, so pretty much the entire town, while the other 200 were operatives from the Global Occult Coalition, part of something called the Ichabod Campaign. The Ichabod campaign was a project by the GOC that resulted in the deaths of countless reality benders throughout the 1980s, and we'll learn a bit more about that later. The only things left alive in the town were 6 pregnant women, a man, and a newborn baby.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold on a second. 6 newborn babies? We talk about the Scarlet King? We talk about the Scarlet King's kids? So, is this whole thing connected? That's crazy. If Clef is connected to the Scarlet King ritual and so is 166, that is interesting. See, this is why I love SCP Lore. It sometimes finds connections like that.
Poor condition. There were signs throughout the entire town of heavy flash flooding, but the nearby lake was completely dry. This event, the Cornwall incident, is the climax of SCP-4231, an extremely violent outburst from an interaction between 2 reality benders. We'll get introduced to those 2 reality benders in a second, but the next section starts by copying some text from a GOC field manual about type greens, the term they use for reality benders. It explains how 99% of type greens go through the same developmental process with their abilities. First, they deny their ability to warp reality, trying to rationalize it in some other way. Some type greens never make it past this step, self-suppressing their own capabilities, but most go on to the experimentation phase. They acknowledge that they can warp reality and begin to test their limits, either slowly and methodically, or with a small number of rapid jumps in capability. Eventually, they will proceed to the stability phase, where they have discovered their limits and boundaries, and they learn to maintain control over their powers, including not using them. A number of type greens will remain at this step, attempting to live a normal life, only using their abilities in private, and not harming others. The GOC typically does not hunt these entities down, but sadly, most reality benders proceed to the final phase, the child god state, where they become obsessed with the power they possess. They use their abilities for personal gain at the cost of others, exhibiting reduced empathy for other humans, inability to accept personal faults, and megalomania. This section ends by noting that teenage and young adult type greens will typically use their abilities for sexual purposes, which leads us into the introduction of our 2 reality benders. Let me preface this by explaining that the relationship between these 2 young adult reality benders is manipulative, abusive, and unhealthy. Rather than going into intimate detail, like the actual article does, I'll attempt to summarize the situation without making things too heavy. The whole point of SCP-4231 is how wrong this relationship is, so I want to take extra care in making sure you, as a viewer, are aware of it, since I'm going to skimp on the details. The article itself comes with a warning that it contains graphic depictions of sexual assault, and that is true, but since I'd like to maintain monetization and try to focus on the story, we're going to gloss over some things. Again, I'd recommend reading the piece yourself afterwards to get the full impact.
Oh boy.
With all that being said, our 2 reality benders are named Lily and Francis, and it's Lily that's the real problem in this relationship. Our introduction to them is Lily pushing herself onto Francis in bed, with Francis both internally repulsed, but also obedient out of a perceived obligation.
Oh man.
Francis is quiet, reserved, and submissive, while Lily is fearsome and dominant, a predator compared to his prey.
Oh, Jesus.
Francis is confused about whether he actually loves her, as he knows this isn't right, and this isn't how things should be, but he also feels like he's supposed to be happy he has someone. As I said, an unhealthy relationship, to be sure. Next, we get an actual SCP document for 4231, the designation for a 3-story building in the former town of North Access, previously inhabited by Lily and Francis. It lists that Lily was 5'7", 150 pounds, 28 years old, and recently pregnant at her time of death.
Oh shit.
Her body was found in the upstairs bedroom of the building, with a single gunshot wound in her head. Francis is listed as 5'3", 145 pounds, 27-year-old male, making him both younger and smaller than Lily was.
Oh,
At
shit.
the time of his recovery by Foundation agents, he was under extreme mental distress, incapable of speaking coherently, with numerous scars, bruises, and broken bones. He was also constantly vomiting water and blood. He shows signs of severe psychological trauma and is contained by the Foundation. As the building they lived in is an SCP, that means it itself exhibits anomalous traits, because of both the prolonged violent presence of the reality benders there, but also because of SCP-2317, which was initially located underneath the nearby lake and connected to the house by a passage. As I said earlier,
Wait, hold on,
hopefully
what?
your entry 17 benders there, but also because of SCP-2317, which was initially located underneath the nearby lake and connected to the house by a passage. As I said earlier, hopefully you're already familiar with SCP-2317, but if not, a quick summary. 2317 is a primeval entity located in an alternate dimension accessible through a specific door. The entity is titled the Devourer of Worlds, and was contained in that dimension by a group of Arakeshan mystics, who crafted 7 chains out of the bones of the entity's 7th bride. 6 of the chains are broken, and the Foundation has no idea how to stop the 7th one from breaking as well, which would release the entity to continue devouring worlds. While the author did not intend for that entity to actually be the Scarlet King while writing 2317, they left the possibility open, and many have subscribed to this theory. Whether or not the 2317 entity is the Scarlet King doesn't really matter for 4231 though, as what matters is that Lily and Francis were living in a house right next to the hidden door that led to 2317.
Oh, shit.
What's more is that the article states that the anomalous traits of 4231 were partially created due to the activation of the door, but we'll get back to that in a second. The building itself consisted of a top-level apartment, a ground-level flower shop, and a basement, which extended via a narrow passageway into another chamber underneath the lake. The top floor, the apartment, is where most of the anomalous qualities appear, left behind by traumatic imprinting from the reality benders.
Jesus.
We'll be getting a short list of the effects of this imprinting in a bit, but it's extensive, and the apartment is actually studied by researchers looking into reality bender psychology, violence, and mental illness. Going through the underground passageway leads to a
God,
tomb
that's
structure
basically
dating
latency.
back to medieval Europe.
Always about it, bro.
In this structure are 7 equal-sized cells, 5 by 5 meter stone rooms with iron doors, secured with anomalous locks. When the locks were eventually damaged enough by Foundation personnel, the doors were opened, revealing 6 pregnant women. Unfortunately, they were not normal pregnant women, and were contained by the Foundation as SCP-231. Again, ideally you're familiar with SCP-231, but basically they were 7 young females, each pregnant with something quite anomalous. The first 6 ended up giving birth to increasingly horrific and dangerous threats, so the 7th one is continually prevented from giving birth through a procedure, Procedure 110 Montauk. The details of this procedure are left unexplained in the original article, left only to imagination, as being something utterly reprehensible. SCP-231 does have direct connections to the Scarlet King, at least in the original article, as the women were retrieved from a cult calling themselves the Children of the Scarlet King. SCP-4231 tells us that this was a lie, though, and that the women were actually contained in cells underneath a lake in North Access, Cornwall, right next to the door leading to SCP-2317. That door was eventually removed from under the lake and taken to a Foundation site. The last room in this tomb is filled with hundreds of different artifacts, notably exactly 500 human bones decorated with strings and fabric,
Jesus.
7 heavily decorated ritual altars, and elaborate carvings of a one-eyed, horned beast, believed to resemble 2317. Additionally, the hallway connecting all these rooms is covered in carvings depicting scenes from the Arakesh Codex, a book mentioned in the 2317 documentation that explains how the mystics contained the entity in 1894 BCE. As the house was built in 1974, and the tomb dates back to medieval Europe, it's unknown how it came to be attached to the house. The Foundation suspects that the tomb might actually be an intricate replica created by Lily, based on text in the Arakesh Codex. Let's piece some things together then. There's no doubt that Lily was involved with the containment of the 6 pregnant girls, as well as the 2317 entity. If we believe that she replicated the creation of the tomb based on the Arakesh Codex, it raises a lot of questions. Where did she find the Codex? Where did she get the girls? And what exactly was her goal? The 231 document makes it clear that there were 7 girls involved, but here we only have 6 in cages. I won't get ahead of myself, and you might already know what the implication means, but let's move on. We get a short section that took place on December 2nd, 1988, around 9 months before the Cornwall incident. Lily is recently pregnant, and Francis wanders away from bed, feeling disconnected from his own body. He opens the bedroom door to find that there's nowhere else to go. The rest of the apartment doesn't exist, and he ponders if it ever existed in the first place. He is trapped. Whether physically or mentally, it's irrelevant. We then see a list of various anomalous effects present in the apartment of SCP-4231. These are imprints left behind by the interactions between the 2 reality benders, auditory and physical phenomena continually recreated from past events. These phenomena include audible arguments, passing insults, degrading comments, and violent outbursts, including the death of a cat.
Jesus.
This is perpetual evidence of the abuse that Francis suffered from Lily, imprinted onto the house through subconscious reality bending. Sometimes the house itself will physically alter, with hallways extending indefinitely, or the apartment replicating itself upwards over and over for 80 hours.
Jesus.
The final phenomenon listed is the viewing of a couple of events, one that took place before the Cornwall incident, and one that took place years after it, in 1995. The first shows Lily and Francis on the beach near the lake, with the 2 about to have intercourse. The second event is from an airport in Arizona, thousands of miles away and years afterward, where Francis watches an episode of Law and Order on a TV in the bar. The episode, pertaining to sexual abuse, makes Francis realize and begin to reconcile what had happened to him. He now worked for the Foundation, but was called in every year to discuss what had happened, and he wished he could just quit and work at a Walmart somewhere.
Oh, fuck.
He wakes up later with fresh marks on his body corresponding to his old injuries, as a result of his subconscious reality-bending powers working on himself. Cutting back to the beach, when they go back to the house, it fills entirely with water for 79 hours before dematerializing. The next section is from a confiscated document, meaning that it wasn't written by the Foundation, titled The Curious Case of SCP-4231-B, referring to Francis. Francis apparently had trapped himself at the top of the house with his newborn baby during the Cornwall incident to escape the floods. After being interviewed, it was ascertained that he was unaware of SCP-231, 2317, and even the anomalous imprinting on the house. When Foundation agents arrived during the incident, they ended up chasing Francis through the house for miles and miles, as he continually expanded it using his powers. Eventually, they smoke him out with sleeping gas and contain him. The author states that Francis would end up causing numerous debates among the Foundation, principally because he is something that they didn't believe reality benders could be: traumatized. He vomits water because of the flood he tried to escape from. He wakes up with self-inflicted bruises and cuts based on previous wounds, and he exhibits traits of PTSD and dissociative identity disorder. In time, he develops a completely separate personality to escape from this trauma.
AKA.
His new personality is the opposite of his original. Eccentric, flamboyant, even inflammatory towards others. And this personality seems to have no knowledge or care about Lily, his child, North Access, or anything that transpired there. But the trauma still exists, and Francis deals with it in different ways. During initial treatment by the Foundation, Francis asks to not be filmed, and in fact to remain completely anonymous throughout the investigation. The Foundation, being the Foundation, of course, refuses, so Francis uses his abilities to obscure his face from any form of recorded media. The Foundation continues to refuse any of Francis's requests for anonymity, privacy, and abstaining from physical contact. During the first 2 weeks of containment, as the Foundation continues to bombard Francis with tests and interviews about what happened, his mental condition significantly worsens. In short, they treat him more like a test subject than a person, and eventually Francis stops allowing it. While this does involve him using his abilities to block his face from cameras and breaking equipment, it mostly involves his new personality refusing to cooperate with any of the Foundation's inquiries and tests. He rips out IV lines and patches, deliberately insults and belittles staff, and refuses all medication and therapy to help his condition. He still suffers from night terrors and panic attacks, but as soon as any staff come to assist, he brushes them off. We see that this confiscated document was written by someone named Lady Agora, who claims that she is a sigil master, translator, and worshipper of many.
What the fuck
We'll
does
hear
that
from
even
her
mean?
Again. We then get a series of emails exchanged between the O5 Council discussing Francis. As expected, their tone is cold, clinical, and discompassionate. They refer to Francis's outbursts as civil disobedience, rather than recognizing that they are the cause of his worsening problems. They do recognize that he has a high degree of control over his reality-bending abilities, and begin to discuss whether or not to contain him. After all, a reality bender with their powers in check could be a valuable tool. They mentioned that he had worked with the GOC as part of the Ichabod campaign under the code name Ukulele.
Okay, so finally, good. I was
If that
wondering.
doesn't ring some bells for you, then I'll assume you haven't watched my video on Dr. Clef. If it's not clear by now, Francis is Dr. Clef, or at least one depiction of him. While a lot of details about Dr. Clef are pretty fluid, there are a few generally concrete things. One is that he is anomalous. 2 is that he used to work for the GOC. And 3 is that he's a bit of a jerk. We can check all those boxes for Francis now with his new personality, but there's more to be gleaned here. It's often mentioned that when Dr. Clef was younger, he was in a relationship with another anomalous entity, and fathered a young girl, who ended up in Foundation custody. While it's generally accepted that this entity was some sort of goddess, the exact details are a little murky, partly because Clef tends to lie about a lot of different things. Although Clef isn't
Which I
usually
think makes
depicted to
sense
be
with
an
everything
actual
he's been
reality
through.
bender, 4231 reconciles this fact by claiming that Clef views his abilities as a medical disability more than anything else, meaning that he self-suppresses his capabilities. An 05 says that Francis had a really solid kill record under his belt while at the GOC, so good that it bordered on obsessive, and his later kills were pretty gruesome. This means that while Francis was in a relationship with a reality bender, he was also out working for the GOC, gruesomely killing hundreds of reality benders. It seems that he was taking out his internal frustrations with Lily on others.
Jesus.
The 05 says that they don't know who the abusive one was in the relationship, despite plenty of evidence proving it. They also refer to Lily as SCP-231-1, meaning that the Foundation is assuming she was one of the 7 pregnant girls.
The birth of Lily's child apparently started the Cornwall incident, again, according to the Foundation. Another O5 corrects the previous overseer about the abuser, telling them that Lily was pretty clearly the orchestrator of this entire thing. Another retorts that they don't trust Francis and his testimonies about what happened, because he ended up murdering Lily. They believe that it's possible Francis orchestrated this entire thing as a cover-up, including the traumatic imprinting. They suspect that Francis is playing the Foundation, but another says that if he was, they'd be able to tell, and they'd already be dead. They move on, wondering about the other pregnant women they found, and whether or not Francis was involved with their impregnation.
Jesus.
Ultimately, they go back to whether or not to contain Francis, and if they don't contain him, then whether he has a right to his child, or to bury Lily. They decide these are issues for the Ethics Committee, and mention possibly looking into adoption options for the child in the Cornwall area. Clef's child, of course, turns out to be SCP-166, the teenage succubus, later picked up from a convent in Cornwall, England. O5-1 says that it seems Francis really isn't their main concern at the moment, but rather SCP-231, and they must ascertain the Montauk ritual from the Arakesh Codex as soon as possible. Let's discuss the Montauk ritual then, or rather the Montauk procedure. I mentioned it earlier as the horrific procedure carried out on the last remaining SCP-231 girl in order to prevent her from giving birth. There have been a number of different tales written about the procedure, including the idea that the procedure itself just involves reading the girl a bedtime story, and all that really matters is that people believe it to be a horrific procedure. The next section is another confiscated document written by Lady Agora, this time about SCP-231 and the Montauk procedure. Agora doesn't jump into talking about the procedure though, but instead discusses the extreme care and attention to detail that the Foundation takes when designing containment chambers and containment procedures. She makes a note that most people don't really care about how something is contained, but rather what is being contained. Agora goes on to explain how much time and effort goes into each containment procedure, far beyond what is shown in each SCP document. And while even I generally gloss over containment procedures when presenting SCPs in these videos, they are sometimes extremely vital to understanding an anomaly. SCP-2845, the deer, for example, is an anomaly with extensive and elaborate containment procedures, more akin to rituals than science. Agora explains that the Foundation often bridges the gap between science and religion, measuring pig's blood with graduated cylinders in a prep room, and raising purebred black cats for the specific purpose of slaughter. She notes that the Foundation is more ruthless and exacting in their rituals than any group of worshippers in the outside world.
That is kind of weird.
That brings her to discussing SCP-231, an anomaly focused around the ritual enacted regularly to contain another horror.
I think that's such an interesting take that, like, she's saying that Agora is saying that they're so thorough and so more dedicated and, I want to say twisted in their methods of containing using the rituals and everything else. Because it's so freaky that, yeah, she's pretty much right. Because they will go, because as he was just explaining, they'll breed black cats. They'll measure pig's blood. Usually, you just when you're seeing cults, you'll seriously just see them, kill a cat or like a sacrifice a pig or dog or something, spread the blood and drape it all over the entity or whatever. But it's such an interesting idea. I mean, I'd be pretty freaked out if like I saw just a cult like actually measuring blood, doing this while just ruthlessly killing these animals. That'd be messed up. It does connect so much of the universe. That's what's really awesome. It like literally, I was amazed that we were getting connections to the Scarlet King or another one. It's interesting as all fuck. I love that this universe can connect itself on so many levels.
She doesn't provide any specific details about Procedure 110 Montauk, as the details don't really matter. She does, however, go over what we know about the procedure. The fact that the ritual requires 2 sets of staff, one set to carry out the procedure, and one set to watch. These staff members are taken to the location of SCP-231 while blindfolded, utilizing a number of different modes of transportation and several different routes. Those watching the procedure wear full-body protective clothing that obscures both their face and their voice, and for 2 months these people are only allowed to stay in their private room when not watching the procedure.
What the fuck?
Agora's point is that in the SCP document for SCP-231, we are given this information, but not any information about the procedure or chamber itself. The important part of this whole process is the visibility of the procedure, and the fact that people watch it. She describes what it would be like to work on 231 as the observation staff, arriving at an unknown location, a winding maze of man-made hallways and tunnels underneath a desert somewhere. You're given a small room with no internet or radio access.
There'll be
allowed
more
for the
connections
rest
coming?
of the
I hope
to
so.
watch.
I hope so.
And the only real face or voice you get to hear for the next 2 months, aside from your own, is the young girl going through the procedure every day. After this 2-month period is over, you get shipped back to the real world, and the experience has changed you. This is the real Montauk procedure. It's not really about what happens to the girl in the chamber, although it does have to be horrible, but it's about people watching the procedure being irrevocably changed. This is what the god wants, the Scarlet King. It wants the people watching to be affected. The Foundation goes through a number of people every year that have to be assigned to the Montauk procedure, and everyone that watches it is, in effect, under the influence of the Scarlet King, because they live in fear from then on. Agora says that in 1967, she was commissioned by the Foundation to decrypt the Arakesh Codex, so the Foundation has had the Codex for quite some time.
What the fuck?
She found the job difficult, as the runes were old and strange, but she finished shortly after her son was born. It's revealed that the Codex would find its way into the hands of her son's childhood friend, meaning that Lady Agora is Francis's mother.
Whoa, whoa!
She had raised...
What? Oh my god. Oh my gosh. Oh, this twist and turns. So good. So good. Oh. Okay, hold on. So she's been... Oh my gosh. So she's been working... So Lady Agora has been working for the SCP for a long time. Her son is a reality bender who eventually works for the... what is it? The GOC? Yeah, the GOC. And then the SCP. And is the father of SCP-166 and the abusive partner of the goddess. Oh, man. What a fuck ton of events this is.
him to never use his abilities, and eventually fled from something, abandoning him. She finishes by saying that her fear is that Procedure 110 Montauk is not about preventing the children from being born, and never has been, but instead is about making enough people fearful, and the Scarlet King can break the chains whenever he wants to. The next section is from someone at the Foundation writing about the GOC's Ichabod campaign, to kill reality benders prematurely. Before the Ichabod campaign, most reality benders were left alone until they caused a problem, such as the disappearance of someone important or a string of murders.
See? Okay, see? I think that's a great procedure. If they're causing problems, yeah, go out and eliminate them. If they're not causing problems, leave them the fuck alone.
In the late 1950s, the first cant counters were developed, allowing the measurement of an individual's capacity for reality bending. The Ichabod campaign was a logical next step, because if you could prevent a reality bender from reaching Phase 4 and really causing problems, then why not stop them earlier than that, since most reality benders end up causing problems. The Foundation didn't agree with it and didn't condone it, but they also didn't stop it either, because the Ichabod campaign was effective. Sure, it wasn't ethical to commit genocide just because 99% of reality benders ended up causing problems at some point, but it ultimately made everyone's lives easier. The Foundation official explains it like this. Animal rights activists speak out constantly about mice being used for research purposes, but never speak out against people using mouse traps in their homes. The reason is because mice are pests, causing death through disease and damage to buildings. Some people in the anomalous community speak out against reality benders being contained and their bodies being used for various purposes, but they don't speak out against the Ichabod campaign, because reality benders in the wild cause problems. Due to this, the Ichabod campaign is still going on, although they have tightened the regulations.
Oh, good.
In its heyday, 75% of all reality benders across the world were killed, with
Jesus.
the average lifespan of a reality bender being 8 years old.
Oh my God.
In the mid-1980s, Francis was a GOC agent during the Ichabod campaign, and we have a segment about him at a bus station after a recent mission. He washes the blood off of his arms and signs himself up for another mission so that he doesn't have to go home. He calls up Lily, as he always does though, and she calls him a liar about something for the millionth time. Between this, the stress, the 6 months of straight missions, and the lack of sleep, something breaks inside Francis, and he begins to cry while on the phone. Lily continues to berate him, calling him a fat, stupid liar, and she says that he's crazy and he'll soon lose control of his powers, and the GOC will find out about him. She says that he better come home so that she can keep an eye on him and protect him.
Oh God, no.
After Francis hangs up, he continues to cry and wonders how long.
This also seems to connect to the SCP-01 Scarlet King phone. Yeah, no, because, like, the Montauk procedure is a way to contain his supposed 7th child, or his 6th child. And there's another theory that it's actually not at all. It's just a rumor that they spread to make people, scared. When in actuality, I think they said it was SCP-9000. Is that it? The tickle monster? It was the tickle monster that was the final kid. And they believe that he is the, like, anti-Scarlet King, so he'll come up and save the world against the Scarlet King. But they believe that the theory is that, like, he is... Oh, it's SCP-999. Yeah, but they believe he's the he's the actual final child of the Scarlet King. The Montauk procedure is actually just, like, a rumor to scare people so that the Scarlet King's, it's more of a scare tactic, and the fear of it grows, but in actuality, it's completely done. The child's already been born, and they're raising 999 to destroy the Scarlet King when the time comes.
Long it will be until his fellow agents murder him for finding out he's a reality bender too. He can feel that things are changing with Lily and with himself, and he ponders if it's her that's changing into another one of those monsters that he's being paid to kill, or if it's him that's turning into a monster. Francis stops crying, and Agent Ukulele of the GOC gets back onto the bus, forgetting about his momentary breakdown. Speaking of the GOC, the next section is from the point of view of a GOC Coda, the head dispatcher and quartermaster, a pretty high rank. This Coda had been overseeing the Cornwall mission over the last 9 months, which started with sending in a few agents to check out some abnormal radiation in North Axis. Those agents never returned, so more and more teams were sent in until nearly 200 Ichabod campaign agents were sent into North Axis.
God damn.
They had tracked the source to a single house and the lake next to it, but the reality of the town was becoming increasingly unstable overall. During a vulnerable moment, the Coda sends in a squad of 30 agents with bombs equipped with reality anchors, with the intention of blowing up the house and the reality benders with it. Because of some flash flooding, Coda tells the squad to walk, putting them at risk. The men set up the bombs as the water reaches waist high, but Coda hesitates and things escalate quickly. The water both suddenly rises up to their chests, submerging the bombs and short-circuiting them, and also quickly rises in temperature.
Oh, I see.
The bombs do not detonate, and the water flooding the town comes to a
Yeah, see, that's where I'm like, see, that's where, like, I like the theory that 999 is the final child, and he's, like, the anti-Scarlet King. But at the same time, I also kind of do like it. I also do like if that's not true, and, like, they're just constantly, like, having to, like, torture this woman and torture these people, because it seems more in line with what the SCP Foundation's about. Like, yes, they're containing it. Yes, they're trying to make sure, you know, nothing terrible gets out, but they're doing it in the worst way possible. Like, they're just making this poor woman suffer and everything else in order to protect humanity, because it seems more in line with what they do, especially like the O5 allowing it. But I like both versions.
sudden boil, cooking the agents and the town civilians alive. This GOC signal of the sound of boiling water is inadvertently picked up twice by the Foundation, leading them to come check out the aftermath. We're in the heart of the Cornwall incident now, and the following section gives us our first perspective from during the event, from the POV of a horse, Chestnut.
A horse?
Chestnut is in a stable with a number of other horses as the water rises up past their hooves. Their owner finally shows up and lets them out of their stalls one by one. The other horses bolt out of the stable, but Chestnut stays with the owner, who grabs a saddle. The man was closest with Chestnut, as he had been grieving the sudden disappearance of his wife 9 months earlier.
Aww.
As you might suspect,
Oh.
his wife had been abducted by Lily as part of her rituals.
I wonder how Lily,
The two
like,
leave the stable,
abducted
storm
these
raging
women.
outside.
Like, because no one,
Chestnut slo-
people had to have assumed something was up. Like someone kidnapped my wife, and like, if no one saw Lily, that's so weird. But then again, she's a reality bender. So I mean, she could just make it look to them like she's a normal human. So
Slowly pushes through the deep water. The horse heads towards the entrance of the town, but the reality of the town had been warped, and there was no escape. The two find themselves suddenly stepping into the lake, where the water was boiling. The horse stumbles backwards until reaching the barn again, but the town is filled with screams as the boiling water cooks everything it touches.
Jesus.
Eventually, Chestnut and her owner succumb to the water as well.
Oh God.
We switch to Francis's perspective during this time, as he helps Lily give birth to a baby girl, oblivious to what is happening to the town. The doctor they called never arrives, but the baby is born regardless, and Francis feels a swell of love he didn't think was possible anymore, as he
Aw.
holds his daughter.
That's good.
The feeling makes him suddenly fiercely protective of her, because he hadn't felt love like this in years. The girl's name is Mary, chosen by Lily, and Francis begins to envision a scenario in which everything works out for him, Lily, and Mary.
So now I know what to call SCP-166. I now know what to call SCP-166. Good. It's always good to kind of like call them something besides the number. I mean, but you know which number they are, but I mean, still, it's always good to humanize them in a certain sense. Because, I mean, we have Iris. I think that was the camera, so that's nice. We have a couple of others, I think, but... I mean, we have Dr. Bright, of course. I mean, he's an SCP himself, I believe.
He envisions Lily going back to her old self when they were teenagers. Neither of them use their powers. She works the flower shop, and he still works for the GOC occasionally. White picket fence around their picturesque house next to the lake, with Christmases and birthdays and everything fine and dandy. But part of Francis knew this wouldn't ever work out, because nothing could fix Lily now, not even a daughter. He recognized that what has been happening with Lily is the same progression that happens to every reality bender he's killed, and he never questioned those diagnoses. He had stowed a rifle under the bed in preparation of this moment, but he wasn't sure he could go through with this. He didn't feel angry the same way he had seen men on TV being angry when murdering their wives.
Honestly, I mean, I'm just finding about it myself, so that's interesting. But I find it funny that like that actually fits well in a sense because I mean, 166 is like religious, and I think it's cute that her name is Mary. You know, like the Mother Mary or the Virgin Mary, which is nice touch.
Despite this, he knew he had to do it, because she would eventually kill him. And if he tried to flee, she would very likely go on some kind of rampage, possibly killing Mary. Francis is oblivious to the outside world and has been for some time, because Lily keeps him trapped in the house and maintains a placid image through the windows. The water has reached the stairs leading up to the apartment now, and Francis needs to act. For himself, for his daughter, and to end Lily's suffering. Lily asks to hold her daughter.
Oh,
And for a moment, Francis looks at her and sees why he used to love her. He also sees what she has done to him over the years, how meticulously she has broken him down and trapped him here in this relationship.
Oh my god.
He tells her that he loves her, but wonders why he still does after everything she's done. He realizes that he'd rather be treated like this than risk being alone, and he desperately wishes it could all work out, but knows that it won't. She gets distracted by the sound of the water and turns, saying that she needs to tell Francis something. Francis draws on his cold GOC instinct and grabs the gun under the bed, shooting her in the head mid-sentence.
Jesus Christ. Oh my god. I just imagine that like as a sudden like okay, you know how you envision certain things in your mind, like almost like you see it in a reality TV not a reality TV show, but like a show. Like I imagine every time someone suddenly dies or like it's a quick bam, they're dead. I always imagine like Game of Thrones kind of scenario where they just out of nowhere something just fucking kills them. And that's exactly what happens with me. Like, I can imagine if this was a show talking about this episode and SCP-4231, I can just imagine it, like, them not focusing on Francis at all, and then just as she's looking at the water, and then is about to say, you know, I have to tell you something, bam, out of nowhere, fucking dome to the head, she's dead, just falls over. And you just see him holding the baby and holding his gun while he's crying. I don't know. That's just my movie brain going on. But that is... I wonder what she was going to say. I wonder if she was like... Because I think there's hints that possibly she was going to change. Or she was going to say something else. But I have a feeling it might have been her trying to be manipulative. And being like, I've always loved you. Now that they had a daughter, so he wouldn't leave. And so... there would have been like, so she would have put him and Mary in a hostage situation in a sense, where you know, she would have been like, look, if you don't stay here from now on, something bad is gonna happen to Mary, like, you know what I mean? But it's such an man, I could see this playing out in so many different ways. But I like that sudden death. It's like story wise, it's like when you read something, and you're just like, no way, that happened, that's crazy.
Troll. Lily is dead from a single shot.
But I wonder what she was going to say.
Francis grabs Mary and begins to run down the stairs, stepping into the boiling water coming up the stairs. In his panic, his abilities begin replicating the apartment upwards, and he continues to run and run and run. A reality bender in control of their powers and with a sound mind could easily escape, but Francis keeps running. He runs through the apartment over and over as memories of his time with Lily resurface, and it's possible that he's running because of Montauk, the word from the Arakesh Codex referring to the fear caused by the Scarlet King. He keeps running as the Foundation agents arrive and chase him through the anomalous apartment, but he isn't really running from them. Eventually, they gas him and he passes out. The Cornwall incident finishes, but the damage has been done, and will continue to be done. A few months later, as Francis continues to get barraged with questions regarding his time in North Access, his alternative personality begins to come out. During one interview, Francis removes his shoes and socks, and anomalously pulls out a small container of nail polish. He begins to paint his toe and fingernails, and eventually Foundation personnel confiscate the nail polish. Francis pulls out another bottle and continues to paint, with this cycle repeating for 5 hours, and Francis answering no questions during that time. A few months go by, and in another interview, Francis begins to pull out false
I
eyelashes
see that? Yeah, I
from his
see.
pockets, adhering them to his arms. 3 hours later, 548 pairs of eyelashes have been attached to his arms. He has answered no questions, and the interview is concluded with him remarking that he's making his arms fuzzy. A year later, Francis is going through his annual questioning about the Montauk house, and he pulls out a single microscope slide. He answers no further questions, and the slide becomes the subject of a 4-month-long investigation by teams connected to SCP-4231, 231, and 2317. The investigation concluded that the microscope slide was entirely blank, with no abnormal properties. By 2017, none of the annual questionings of Francis have resulted in any additional information. It wasn't long after being contained that Foundation psychologists recommended that Francis be allowed to work as an agent, since containment was significantly worsening his mental condition. Of course, we know this ended up happening.
I don't know why I like this picture, because like not only is it a flooded town, but if you look over here at the stuff, it says G. Lovecraft and then Stephen King. So it's like a really nice touch. That's awesome. Like there's 2 authors in there.
As Francis
Oh,
became known as Dr. Clef, but he would be continually monitored and annually questioned due to his abilities and his past trauma. The next section shows off 3 different point of views from 2016, connected to North Access. The first is a group of men in a bar 12 miles from North Access. They are sitting around in the evening, waiting for something to happen. Apparently, some people have been passing by on the road every night recently. Finally, they arrive, passing by in new, unmarked trucks. They're hauling steel girders and electrical wiring, and the men discuss what these mysterious people are constructing over in North Access. They know that North Access is a ghost town, but there's some disagreement about what happened to it. The official story was that it flooded, but some suspect it was a fire. One of the men had seen it, though, because he was anomalous himself, unbeknownst to the others, and felt a pull to check out North Access. At the edge of the town, he felt the warmth and saw into the bubble around the town. He saw the town boiling away.
wait, what? Oh, okay. I gotta look up those doctors now, because I'm
sinking
more
into
people to learn about
desolation.
later.
Rather than telling them, though, he simply says that he didn't see anything. He's afraid, though, of who these people are and what they might be building where North Access used to exist. Next, we hear about Robert Scranton, creator of the Scranton Reality Anchors. Robert's father had also worked for the Foundation as an engineer, and it was him who took the Arakesh Codex to Lady Agora to translate in hopes of figuring out how to stabilize reality. His father hadn't quite succeeded, leaving the project to Robert. Robert didn't quite have the same kind of trust in ancient ritual magic translated by a witch, but he soldiered on. Scranton Reality Anchors are used in plenty of SCPs, but the specifics of their construction aren't usually touched on. This article is saying that their construction partially revolves around rituals taken from the Arakesh Codex. The Foundation decides to build a factory solely devoted to the construction of SRAs, and quite curiously, they decide to build this factory in North Access, Cornwall.
Okay, yeah.
The spot they chose would need a few Scranton Reality
Never mind.
Anchors itself.
Makes sense.
But other than that, it was perfect. The only problem was the issue of supply, as the ritual for constructing these anchors requires specific components. Robert wasn't exactly sure how they were going to get these components, as he mentions that so far they've just been using old supply from the 80s, but it was running out. Now, in this video, where have I mentioned the decade of the 1980s before? If you answered the Ichabod campaign, you'd be correct. The ritual components necessary for the construction of Scranton reality anchors come from the deceased remains of reality benders. Wonderful. We then get taken back to Coda at the GOC, as he sits next to the head of the GOC in a facility. The two sip tea as they listen to various radio signals from around the world, GOC agents going after reality benders. The head of the GOC mentions that he's been thinking about relaunching the Ichabod campaign, presumably with the same intensity as in the past. How interesting that at the same time that the Foundation is desperately in need of dead reality benders, the GOC is thinking about relaunching a campaign to slaughter reality benders.
That
Coda
is
immediately says
a
no,
bit interesting.
to which the other man asks if he's worried about another Cornwall incident. Coda goes into a monologue about the ridiculousness of calling 1,200 people being boiled alive an incident. He's obviously still pretty sensitive about sending his men into North Access and having to listen to them being cooked. He asks the man if he wants a second Cornwall. The head of the GOC says that if Coda does his job right, there won't be a second Cornwall. Sounds like the Ichabod campaign is back on. The penultimate section is back in 1989, with Lily and Francis sitting in their apartment. Lily continually asks Francis to tell her the truth about something, but Francis just continues to cry, pleading that he doesn't know what truth she wants to hear. Much later, he ponders how much self-awareness she had about what she was putting him through. 30 years later, Dr. Clef was in a better place, barely thinking about North Access aside from occasional nightmares. He was good now, or as good as Dr. Alto Clef could be. The final section is from an aquatic containment chamber somewhere in the Pacific Ocean. The point of view of this section is from a Scranton reality anchor, number 4345, who had recently woken up. There was a consciousness inside of this anchor, and it wonders if the other nearby anchors are awake as well. It doesn't know how long it's been awake, or how long it had been there, or what it was before this. It does know that it hadn't always been here in the ocean, and after a few years of bobbing in the water near the ocean floor, it finally pulls free a single memory from a previous life. It remembers a house. Yes, Lily was turned into a reality anchor.
Oh,
She's
shit!
gaining awareness back. In the section of 4231 that discusses the tomb underneath the lake, there is some hidden text.
No way. Oh, that's fucking wild. Okay, hold on. So much to pick apart here. My theory brain is going into overdrive. So, the Ichabod campaign is back on. And Lily wanted Francis to tell her the truth about something. I'm wondering what that could be. Because he's also wondering himself, what truth is she looking for? And then, of course, we get a reality anchor just that's bobbing in the ocean that remembers the house. And, of course, it's Lily. And, oh, man. We are going into fucking overdrive with this. This is insane. Oh, I gotta start making my own SCP content because now I'm full theorizing this shit. All right. Let's continue. We're almost there.
An excerpt from the Arakash Codex. In the interest of making this video even longer, I'll read it verbatim. In a life before now, I was a powerful beast enslaved to a village, for whom I pulled carts of grain. I was fed and housed and walked among them, but was but a creature speaking their tongue, for which I grew dissatisfied. One night I broke free from my restraints and found myself running wildly in the forest, and the forest did bend around me. My feet were hail and my body thunder. I brought desolation for which I felt nothing, and the earth enabled me with submission. I ran for 7 days and 7 nights, for which time I brought plague on what I did perceive. They called me
I'll turn myself into a pickle type shit. That's funny.
torn asunder. On the 7th night, I was reckless with fatigue, and the world did not bend for me. I fell down a steep valley into the river Green. Having struck my neck on a boulder, the holy river drowned me in starlight and boiled the flesh from my bones. No creature came for me, for there was no creatures of my kind. The river delivered me. Oh, how much agony I was in. My broken neck came to rest on the bank of a stream running through a farmer's field, who was grazing his cattle. He said unto me, I am not Kether, but I will save you, as you will save me. He read a holy passage of the Green, and carved into my broken neck words of forgiveness,
7.
then wrapped it in cloth and twine. I protected his family for 4 generations. Spirit nor creature dared challenge me. The 4th generation blessed me and thanked me and delivered me unto the holy flame. Wildflowers did bloom in my ashes. My power returned to the earth, and I rested soundly. Mercy, mercy, mercy. Great is the red God who binds his angels to the waters. May heaven be merciful on my bones until the Lord pulls upon my yoke once more. Basically, this text describes a reality bender who was enslaved by a village to do their labor. One day it broke free, causing desolation in the region using its powers. Finally, though, through an accident, the reality bender died, but maintained awareness. The neck bone of this reality bender ended up in the hands of a farmer who happened to be familiar with Arakeshian magic, and used the bone to effectively make a reality anchor, which protected his family for generations. After 4 generations, though, the reality bender was laid to rest, until the Scarlet King decides to call them once more. This text presents some worrying problems for the Foundation, who will almost certainly attempt to utilize the anchors for more than 4 generations, and the fact that the Scarlet King apparently has influence over these anchors. What's more is the problem with SCP-231, the girls that underwent the Montauk procedure until only one is left now. I said earlier that the Foundation assumed that Lily was the first of these girls, mentioned in the SCP-231 document as the girl killed during the initial raid. Although yes, she also happened to be pregnant and gave birth, not all signs point to her being part of that group. According to the author, it's possible that Francis is actually one of the SCP-231 members, because who says that they specifically have to be girls?
Oh shit!
The idea that the concern is the children being born is what the Foundation believes, but these are ancient rituals, roughly translated by a witch, so it's impossible to exactly say how everything connects. This, of course, gets even more confusing for readers when you have to juggle multiple different canons and tales. This was an incredibly lengthy and involved SCP, and it's somewhat amusing that at the end of all of it, some people might wonder, well, what exactly is SCP-4231? Based on the title and the way the text describes it, you'd say it's the house itself. But the house is of such relatively small significance compared to the other elements of this story. It's a rare SCP that combines so many different anomalous concepts into one, pulling from multiple different other SCPs and concepts, incorporating hidden text and interpretation. It's a divisive SCP,
okay,
to
yeah.
be sure.
I forgot about
Its
that.
complexity, its length,
I always forget about the
its
7.
format,
I always
and
forget
its
about
concept,
numbers.
but it's undoubtedly impressive. Again, canon in the SCP universe is a little different, and if you don't care for how this SCP messes with 231, 2317...
What do you need? Gary, I'm not giving you any change, because you've taken my change out of that piggy bank.
No, I haven't.
Gary, I know you have.
I haven't, bro. Please, bro, your little brother's hurt. Come on.
You have, there's drinks in there. I don't have any. Here, you want some of my peach? No, I don't know. I'm not giving you this because this is my peach juice.
A little bit.
No, listen, feel this. Feel how much is left in there.
Just a little bit. A little bit.
Take a little sip. Don't put your fucking mouth on it. Stop. You fucker.
Here we go, bro.
Thank you. Close my door. Oh, the video froze? Oh my god. Oh my gosh, hold on, wait, no. Something just happened with mine. What the hell was that? I saw like a little flicker of shit. Give me 1 second. Everything alright? Okay, yeah, everything's right with my stream. But I did see something up was with my camera because I saw like it just like glitching out a little bit, but we're all good. We're all good.
The Scarlet King, Clef, and reality anchors, then just forget about it. If you accept it, though, then it has some wide-reaching implications, the foremost of which being that the Scarlet King is empowered through fear, and the Montauk House is responsible for quite a lot of it.
Welcome back, bro. He runs from an old and all-encompassing god in the lake below that he's been chained to in a ritual that has not been attempted for 1,000 years. He runs from something that he cannot place, his own fear, or fear from the house, from Lily, from the men in black armor, from North Access. Does he think that if he runs far enough and fast enough that he will no longer surface back where he started? Is he running from an old sort of concept, a spirit of a flood, and an endless passageway that will now prose him for the remainder of his life? Montauk, was that what he was afraid of? Even if he could not place it? Even when he runs the same track endlessly in his dreams? Montauk, as it's written in the old texts, the pressing fear, the hand of the red god. Ooh. It's a bit fire, man. It's fire. Alright. Alright. Oh. Boy, oh boy, was that a mind fucker? But a good mind fucker, in my opinion. That was good. I learned so much. I'm taking that as my personal canon. That is canon, for sure, in my own opinion. Bruh, I think you led me down the path of something great. Honestly, I'll be honest. I'm gonna be theorizing about this for a long time. This is gonna be amazing. You know what? I think I'm definitely gonna do an SCP video on my YouTube channel in the future, for sure. I have to talk about this. I love this stuff too much to not talk about it. All right. Now that that's over, pretty good story. I'm gonna go read it in my own personal time, cause I don't know. I like sad stories, and this is definitely a sad story. What was this one? Oh, that was Dr. Clef. All right, we're gonna do this one now. SCP-1548, the Star, the Hateful, and then I don't know why it says I watched all of the Black Moon. I literally just pressed on the beginning, watched like the first 3 minutes, not even 3 minutes, like the first few seconds, and it just says I've watched it all.
A bloodthirsty entities waits outside the protective boundary that surrounds the solar system. They surge through the vacuum of space looking for vulnerabilities in the force field that protects us from their destructive powers.
Jesus, that looks like some very much H.P. Lovecraft concepts.
The creatures ran themselves against the barrier again and again, trying to break through. Upon impact, the force field shimmers a golden color and displays a series of thaumaturgical symbols. But it holds. Suddenly, something flies through the protective shield from inside the solar system. It leaves a hole. Two creatures enter our solar system before the shield closes. This may be the end for humanity. The sixth overseer sits at a computer terminal massaging the bridge of his nose. He has just logged into the Foundation database to gather information on an anomaly whose intentions are still unknown. The O5 Council wants him to vote on an extreme measure, but he requires more information first. There is something coming. He can feel it, and he thinks it has something to do with SCP-1548. O5-6 straightens his back.
No, I know what you mean, because, like, it definitely doesn't explain a lot, for sure. They don't go into great detail about a lot of things, and sometimes they, like, missed so much because I remember I just read their, I think it was site. What was it? Which one was it? Because they did which one was it? I think it was. Which one was it? It was the site 19, not site 19. It was something else. It was another SCP from another universe where it was the entire base. Yeah, no. No, it definitely. I think there's not a lot videos talk about almost every SCP, which it sucks. But I think the good thing that this channel does talk about it is that it does talk about some SCPs you barely even heard of. For example, I didn't know about this one, but I'm watching it because it interests me. And then once I'm done with it, I'm definitely gonna go look more into it because again, I think this video brings awareness to other SCPs, but it doesn't just go into enough detail about it. Like the Exploring series, he does an amazing job talking about so many different SCPs, concepts, and yes, he glosses over certain things, but I think in his line of work, sometimes it's necessary because, like you said, there was so many connections to the Montauk House that he couldn't cover everything, and he also didn't want to go into detail a lot about certain mature subjects. So I think he gets left off the hook for that because he's already explained as much as he can to us. But even he says he's doing kind of a disservice to the story because he's summarizing it up. But yeah, I think he does a good job of explaining a lot of things. This series tells us a lot of things, but it doesn't explain it. But I think the good thing about it, like I said, it brings awareness to other SCPs that I'd never heard of. So, yeah.
Back and sits up in his chair. He logs back into the Foundation database and brings up the entry for SCP-1548. He knows that this SCP has been connected to some odd occurrences recently, but what are its true intentions? Is SCP-1548 trying to help save the universe? Or is it a malicious entity hell-bent on destroying it? O5-6 must find out. He scrolls through the first few entries. SCP-1548 itself is a series of solar phenomena that occur at the south pole of the sun. During these events, the sun's plasma morphs into different thaumaturgical symbols. Each symbol is tens of thousands of miles across. The symbols themselves have not all been classified by the Foundation yet, but there are 3 that have been observed multiple times. The first is an unnamed symbol that, when inscribed on a telescopic device by a person with thaumaturgical abilities, can identify psionic entities with malicious intents. The second symbol is known as the Calphastian Isle, which when displayed on a material, strengthens it immensely and gives it the ability to absorb kinetic and electromagnetic energy.
Wow.
The final symbol is the 12 Holy Owls of Cerinthium. When this symbol is affixed to an object, any entity that is killed by it will immediately annihilate and take everything in its radius with it. O5-6.
That's a good idea, honestly. That's nice. That's nice. I think I definitely will take a. If you can tell me what it is, bro, I'll look it up and then probably look at it because I think you're right. A lot of people think that SCP is just a horror type of thing, but no, it's so much more. Like, it's mystery, there's drama, there's actual human connections, and it's such a nice concept that, like, while there's a lot of horror about it and like there's a lot of accidents, murder, death, and everything else, there's so much more to it than just like it being used for horror. Oh my gosh, I don't know what that was.
Jots a note on the pad of paper sitting on his desk. He has seen some of these symbols before. They are connected to the Ortuthan mythology. The practitioners of this religion are known as the Church of the Second High Toth, and are a mix of human and alien entities whose main purpose is to aid the guardian deity of the universe, Rakmu-Liusen, in combating any threat that may try to wipe out this existence. There must be a connection between the Church of the Second High Toth and SCP-1548, O5-6 thinks. He scrolls back through the SCP-1548 file to the entry logged on May 17, 1983, the first time an event connected to SCP-1548 was recorded. A probe picked up the manifestation of thaumaturgic symbols on the south pole of the sun. It was odd, but nothing other than the manifestation of the symbols seemed to occur. This event was recorded as Extra Normal Event 9008 and logged into the SCP database. The event was all but forgotten until December 23, 2016, when the activity of SCP-1548 really began to pick up. On that day, SCP-1548 began manifesting protection symbols in rapid succession. Over the next few months, a dense cloud of ionized gas formed around the solar system. This ionized wall of radiation surrounded the heliopause, the boundary where the sun's radiation gives way to the vacuum of space. Over time, this cloud became thicker, until no light from outside of the solar system could enter. Foundation censorship protocols were quickly used to disseminate false data, suggesting that the solar system was passing through a dense cloud of cosmic dust, and that was what was altering the night sky and causing the stars to disappear. But as O5-6 continues to scan the files, he knows what the true cause of this phenomenon
Okay,
is.
cool. I'll look it up.
It must be SCP-1548. But why?
I'll probably save
Is
it
the
too,
anomaly
but
trying
it will
to
be
protect
later.
us from something outside of our solar system? Or is it trying to trap humanity within, with no means of
Yeah, I'll
escape?
do this.
O5-6 stands up and stretches. That's enough for today, he says out loud to the empty room. He walks towards the door and reaches for the handle. All of a sudden, sirens start going off and red lights begin to flash. O5-6 spins around and runs back to the computer terminal. An emergency alert begins coming through. The Falcon Light 5 rocket that launched earlier in the day to bring supplies to the International Space Station has spontaneously lost 50% of its mass mid-flight. O5-6 frantically begins typing. He brings up videos from surveillance satellites. The Overseer watches in horror as pieces of debris and bodies of the crew float through the silence of space. The rocket looks like it has been cut directly down the middle, and half of the structure has vanished from existence. What is happening? Suddenly another alert comes in. All communication has been lost with the International Space Station. Without warning, the space station begins broadcasting a series of cognito hazards. O5-6 quickly changes the channel to stop the signal from transmitting through his computer. Reports start coming in from around the world that anyone who continued listening to the cognito hazard signals began entering trances. Then their brain completely evaporated from their skulls.
Whoa, what
there
the
is a
fuck?
surge of thaumaturgic particles in orbit around the Earth. O5-6 traces the particles back to their source. They came from SCP-1548. The signal from the ISS stops abruptly. The entire space station
cool.
changes course. It is on
I
a
didn't know about that.
trajectory
That's
to
interesting.
re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. The friction and heat will rip the space station apart. O5-6 can't believe what is happening. It seems as if SCP-1548 helped humanity in a way by stopping the signals from the ISS. But how can he be sure that SCP-1548 wasn't responsible for the cognito hazards in the first place? He needs more information. O5-6 searches for answers as more anomalies connected to SCP-1548 start occurring around the world. During a political demonstration in Berlin, a thaumaturgic way opens up that leads to a pocket dimension. Soon after, the appearance of the portal, Koru Archpriest Farah Atenis, the leader of the Church of the Second Hytoth, makes an announcement. He claims that the way leads to a shelter, which will protect people from the coming doom of the universe. The people in the area, along with the members of the Church of the Second Hytoth, make their way into the portal. 2 undercover Foundation agents follow the group. After everyone has entered, the way immediately closes.
I love how
There
this
is
fucking...
no further contact. What does the Church of the Second Hytoth know that we don't? O5-6 wonders. He continues monitoring the situation and looking for answers. Suddenly a message comes through all Foundation channels. It is coming from the sun. It is not SCP-1548. Instead, it is SCP-179, the humanoid permanently in space near the sun. 179 sends out one clear word in its signal: defend. Who is SCP-179 talking to? O5-6 thinks. What needs to be defended? Is it humanity? Our solar system? The universe? Another alarm begins to go off. What now? O5-6 screams. He brings up the alert. The screen flashes to the moon. O5-6 focuses in on where the alert is coming from. It is a Foundation base called Area 32. What remains left of the base is reporting that SCP-2821 suddenly expanded in size, formed a wormhole that led to another region of the universe, and then vanished through it, taking 38 Foundation members and 10 anomalies with it. Sirens continue to go off. Distress signals are being picked up on every channel. It seems as if the world is coming to an end. and everything that is happening is somehow connected to SCP-1548. A static-filled transmission begins coming in from SCP-3417. The words are urgent. All Artuthans here. All Artuthans must listen now. The stars are lost. Static breaks up the transmission for a few moments before it resumes. Ago, the first invasion occurred. The gods were unprepared, never comprehending the fragility of the universe after its creation. The worlds must fight. The transmission cuts off. Everything goes silent. A pulsating SCP icon appears on the screen of O5-6's computer. It is the part of the puzzle he has been waiting for. In 1999, the O5 Council unanimously voted to launch a mission called Seraph-1 to explore beyond the heliosphere. And the mission's true purpose was to explore the plausibility of extraterrestrial SCP objects in space. The message that O5-6 just received is from Seraph-1. It is relaying information back to Earth. The video shows the barrier of ionized radiation that SCP-1548 had created glowing orange at the border of the heliopause. The radioactive wall seems to be made up of complex geometric patterns around 6,000 miles across.
Jesus.
Seraph-1 accelerates towards the barrier. It smashes through the protective shell. The probe has entered interstellar space. O5-6 knows that everything he is seeing is on a delay, as the information being sent back by Seraph-1 needs to travel vast distances, and it takes significant time for signals to reach Earth. After passing through the ionized barrier, the connection to Seraph-1 is lost. Over the next few days, O5-6 tries to link the anomalies happening in the solar system to SCP-1548. The Foundation still hasn't concluded if 1548 is harmful or trying to protect the solar system in some way. Then a message comes in from Seraph-1. It has briefly regained communication with the Foundation. Most of the probe's instruments have been destroyed, but its rear-facing camera is still broadcasting. O5-6 pulls up the feed. He stares at the screen in horror as the images unfold before him. The camera captures swarms of unknown entities surrounding the heliopause. The bodies of the entities are asymmetrical, with countless appendages and unknown structures jutting out from their cores. They seem to range in size from 10 kilometers to 10,000 kilometers across, although some seem so large that their size can only be hypothesized. The swarms crash into the protective barrier that SCP-1548 has created around the solar system. Each time part of the swarm rams the barrier, thousands of thaumaturgic symbols and solar flares appear at the point of impact. Two entities that are later classified as 1548 Omega-1 and 1548 Omega-2 are captured entering the solar system by Seraph-1's camera. Video from Seraph-1 shows that as the probe exited through the protective barrier, it created a hole that remained open for a few moments. During the time that the shield of ionized radiation was vulnerable, 1548-Omega-1 and 1548-Omega-2 entered through it. They are now inside the solar system. SCP-1548 launches countermeasures in the form of glowing red sigils that create shockwaves to slow down Omega-1 and Omega-2. Omega-1 is shaped like an eel with 5 contorted arms radiating from its body and a mouth made of impossible
The sun is
geometric
protecting us,
shapes.
yeah.
Omega-2
Because I think, what is it? I think the one that they're talking about, the one that like flies around the sun, if I believe it's 179 right here. That one calls the sun its brother. So I think the sun might actually be a real life entity. So that's interesting. That'd be pretty cool too, though.
Tetrahedral structure that leaves a trail of black rocks in its wake. As the two entities move towards the sun, SCP-1548 becomes more active. It closes the hole in the barrier before any other creatures of the swarm can enter, and then launches hundreds of concentrated blasts of thalmic energy at Omega-2. The flares vaporize the entity in seconds. The last thing the video feed of Seraph-1 captures before it cuts out is Omega-1 disappearing from view as it creeps towards the center of the solar system. It has escaped the protective measures of SCP-1548. After the O5 Council reviews the footage, they decide to deploy the SCPS Cortana to intercept Omega-1. The orbital vessel is fully equipped with experimental anomalous weapons and propulsion systems. The Council is sure that the Cortana will be able to destroy Omega-1. Data coming in from other satellites indicate that Omega-1 has destroyed Pluto, and other Kuiper Belt objects. It is slowly making its way to the center of the solar system, annihilating everything in its path. The Cortana intercepts Omega-1 near Jupiter and engages the creature. After 10 minutes of battling, communication with the ship is lost. Probes in the area capture footage of the Cortana and Omega-1 in mid-battle, when they are suddenly surrounded by a black substance and both vanish from sight. O5-6 and the other council members watch in anticipation, unsure of what has just happened. Then the black substance dissipates. The SCPS Cortana sits motionless in space. The entity is nowhere to be seen. A cheer erupts from the Overseers and Foundation members in the room. It seems the entity has been defeated. Then, without warning, the Cortana accelerates rapidly. It is on a collision course with Mars. As the ship hurtles past one of the probes in the asteroid belt, the Foundation members see an organic mass resembling that of Omega-1 attached to the hull of the ship. The Overseer Council watches in horror as the SCPS Cortana smashes into the red planet, leaving a crater 250 miles wide. The energy released from the impact instantly ionizes the thin atmosphere of Mars, causing the surface to turn into molten rock. From the epicenter of the impact crater, a black organic mass begins to crawl across the planet. The Overseers are frozen in fear. But SCP-1548 immediately deals with the entity that is devouring the surface of Mars. From the Sun comes the largest SCP-1548 instance ever recorded. A solar flare is jettisoned towards Mars. The impact causes a fusion reaction so intense that for a moment, Mars shines as brightly as the Sun. The planet explodes. Its debris is cast across the solar system. Over time, it will create a second asteroid belt in the orbit that Mars once inhabited. The Overseer Council is now convinced that the threat has been dealt with. SCP-1548 is holding the swarm at bay outside of the solar system, at least for the moment. O5-6 returns to his office. He brings up the file on SCP-1548. He is still unsure of this SCP's true intentions. It seems to be protecting humanity, but why? O5-6 sits back in his chair and scrolls to the end of the file. There is an update to the file by O5-3, something that wasn't there before. O5-6 opens the new entry and reads the caption, "All that's left of our infinite, ever-expanding universe." O5-6 scrolls down. The image is a picture taken by Seraph-1 before contact was lost forever. It is a picture of all that remains of the universe. There are 2 dots of light, and nothing else but blackness. The swarm has destroyed everything in the universe, except for those 2 faraway stars, and our own solar system, which was protected by SCP-1548. But how long can it hold out against a universe-destroying force? Only time will tell. Now go check out SCP-2935 O-Death and SCP-2000 for more tales of an apocalyptic...
Dude, oh, that's crazy. Wild. That's insane. I gotta read more into this. Oh, but that's insane if they destroyed all the known universe. There's so much different terrible SCPs that are definitely gonna come for Earth's booty, and I ain't ready for it, man. All right. What was that next one? This one, and then it was supposed to be. We were saving the Black Moon for last, so it's supposed to be this one next. But I'm gonna go use the bathroom real quick, and then we'll be right back. Ugh. Ugh. everybody. I'm back. I'm back. Hold on. Biggie. Ooh. Oh my lord. You know, bro, I've been watching a lot of Curious Archive recently. Came out with a new one right there. The what happens after a god goes mad. So maybe we'll watch that next at one point, but I'll watch it in my own time. But I've been seeing a lot of Curious Archive lately, and I'm like, man, those looks interesting as fuck. So I've been watching a lot.
SCP 3002 Attempts to Assassinate Thought. Memories are often unreliable as they fade, alter, and shift within our own minds. Although we often completely believe in the truth of our memories,
Dude, I don't know what it is, but I could fall asleep to listening to the Exploring series. He got such a voice, dude.
we generally can't be certain if what we remember is what actually occurred. Eyewitness testimonies in a courtroom are often faulty, and our minds will occasionally swap around our memories completely. SCP-3002 is certainly not the first SCP to deal with memories, but it is perhaps the most widespread and dangerous of these anomalies. As a bonus, it's also another SCP that demonstrates some of the really negative consequences when attempting to exploit an anomaly. The 3002 documentation goes through a number of iterations, as we learn more and more about the SCP. The first description given of the anomaly is that it's a shared memory connected to 85% of the prisoner population in the South Rock Penitentiary in Indiana. This was discovered by a psychiatrist working for the prison, who observed that a large amount of inmates mentioned a specific memory from their childhood that seemed to be nearly identical to each other. The memory, designated SCP-3002, consists of the individual walking through or playing in a forest as a child, along with their best friend at the time. At some point, the individual gets into an argument with their friend. This memory seems to occasionally conflict with the individual's actual life experiences, as some had never been in a forest as a child. The
I
Foundation was alerted
thought this
to
one sounded
anomalous
interesting, so that's why
situation and
I'm
conducted
watching
their
it.
own interviews with the inmates. It seems that initially, the inmates were able to recall this memory perfectly, but after several interviews, their recollections begin to fade, eventually becoming similar to any ordinary memory.
I had another video where I have
The
no
reason
relevant
for
art.
this is unclear, but we'll learn soon enough. We're provided an interview log between a Foundation doctor and one inmate that sheds a little more light on the specifics of the memory. After some prodding, the inmate, John Baelish, recalls the memory designated SCP-3002. He says it took place on the 17th of January, 1997, as he and his best friend, John D'Annunzio, played in Broome Woods.
So I just saw another one that was
The
interesting,
memory
so I want to
consists of
click
them
on it.
messing with
We'll watch it
some
later.
squirrels and playing around. Overall, a very pleasant day.
Oh,
They began talking about school, as a new kid had recently enrolled. Baelish thinks they moved there from Slovakia or something. Baelish says his friend went on and on about the new kid, saying apparently racist things, and Baelish remarks that this was rather out of character for John. In the memory, Baelish yelled at his friend, causing them to go their separate ways.
stop saying the fucking N-word. I've had enough of it every day with you, motherfucker. It's always racist this, racist that. Oh, that's funny, though. Oh, some of it.
Baelish then says that another friend met with him, named Lily. Baelish remarks...
What was the name? Nah. See, look. No way, brother. Ain't no way. If a bunch of SCPs that are females use the name Lily, there has to be something going on with that name, bro. Because we just had Lily from the Montauk house. Now we got Lily in this. This is... I don't like this, man.
that Lily was always a little weird, claiming that she was retarded or something. Baelish says Lily came over and put her hands on his shoulders and asked him very seriously if he remembered her. He then tries to discuss Lily in further detail, such as her physical characteristics, but then is shocked as he can't recall anything about her.
I can't believe that was a thing that was a part of it. It's like she's retarded or something. That sounds like something you'd say if you were in South Park, but oh my god. What the fuck?
He says that he's sure she was one of his best friends, but then seems to question himself before the interview is concluded. It seems the argument with the friend in SCP-3002 is always about a new kid in school, and there's always a female child with blonde hair, usually described as Slovakian or Eastern European.
How the fuck do you know what Slovakian looks like?
We see that SCP-3002
Eastern European
is now classified as a Class 2.
I mean, unless they spoke like that, yeah, you could probably figure it out. But if they, I don't think you can tell if someone's Slovakian.
It can
Maybe.
be transmitted through both text and speech if they describe the anomalous memory. And the memory is then implanted into the subject's mind, with them believing it to be their own. The only new detail we're given about the memory itself relates to the young girl, who is given the full name of Lily Veselka. She is most often described as having pale blonde hair and appearing anemic. She also tends to ask the subject highly specific questions, generally about herself or some sort of project. The Foundation seems to believe that much of Indiana and parts of Illinois are affected by SCP-3002, and they develop a means to test affected individuals without vocal confirmation due to the way 3002 spreads. Affected individuals are given amnestics in order to wipe their memories. At one point, however, 3 Foundation employees attempted to access 3002's file, despite them not having proper clearance and or not having any prior knowledge of SCP-3002.
Oh.
The first was a janitor who lacked clearance, followed by another attempt 5 minutes later by a Foundation agent, who also lacked clearance. 20 minutes later, a senior researcher who did possess proper clearance successfully accessed the file and made some edits to it. These edits were reverted a few hours later, but 10 minutes after that, the same researcher went back in and made some more edits.
What the fuck?
These edits were also reverted, the file was locked, and all 3 were brought in for interrogation. The interviews are conducted by an officer working with the Records and Information Security Administration branch of the Foundation. We're given a log of the interview with the senior researcher, Dr. Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt first tries to feign ignorance over the whole situation, but when shown a physical copy of the 3002 documentation, he says that he saw a few minor errors and went in to fix them. According to the RASA records, this was the first time he had ever accessed SCP-3002, however, and after a few moments, Vanderbilt then says that he remembers looking over his colleague's shoulder on his way to get lunch, and seeing the file. The officer claims this is impossible, as 3002 can only be accessed in a secure environment due to its hazardous nature. Vanderbilt then says all he did was some minor grammatical edits, but the officer says that while grammatical edits were indeed made, he also edited several instances of the phrase SCP-3002, changing them to Lily Veselka. He also removed the references to her being Slovakian, and Vanderbilt jumps in to say that she's not Slovakian, and he's known her since he was a kid. But then he pauses. And
Sausage indeed.
Sausage
indeed, my friend. What are you talking about?
Vanderbilt is given amnestics, along with the janitor and the agent, and his colleague is brought in to determine if he broke protocol on SCP-3002. It's determined that he did not, leaving the Foundation confused as to how SCP-3002 affected Vanderbilt, since they can't figure out how he would have heard of the memory. We're still left with a puzzle and very few answers, specifically to the questions of who is Lily Veselka and why are multiple Foundation personnel trying to access 3002's file to change it. Let's move on to the next iteration. SCP-3002 has now been bumped up to a Class X memetic hazard, and all text containing it is to be destroyed, aside from SCP documentation. The security clearance to access it is higher, and if any outside company is found to be creating content containing 3002, they are to be immediately shut down and the owners terminated. It seems that the Foundation has now learned that 3002 is capable of altering, removing, replacing, or adding any memory of an affected individual, not just inserting that specific childhood memory.
Jesus.
3002 is capable of affecting both declarative memory, that is, memories involving personal experiences or facts, as well as implicit memories, also known as muscle memory. Affected subjects fully believe these new or altered memories to be their own, and behave accordingly. In other words, SCP-3002 is basically capable of controlling an individual's mind, but does so through the use of memories. For example, if you're used to going down one hallway every day, but suddenly your memories change, and now you're used to going down a different hallway, you have no reason not to go down that different hallway. If you suddenly remember that you were going to access a secure SCP document, you're probably going to go access that document. Additionally, since it can affect muscle
That's a beautiful
memory,
image right
you
there.
might
Holy
suddenly
shit.
no longer be able to remember how to drive a car while driving down a highway. This is an extremely dangerous memetic
fuck.
hazard.
I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that thought where like he's like, you know, you sometimes have a brain fart. I'm like, oh my god, that happens to me so much because like there'll be days where I can't remember a fucking word and I look stupid. I'm just like, yeah, you know that the thing you put in wine glasses and you know you turn and you know pops out the cork and they're like, you mean a corkscrew? I'm like, yeah, that. Or like sometimes I'll forget like or sometimes it'll be the stupidest things ever where like I walk in and I'm just like, what's left and right? And then I'll just be like, oh wait a minute. I hate that so much.
Added on to the fact how contagious it seems to be, and it can alter a person's mind to make them willingly spread the hazard. The Foundation originally just thought discussion of that specific childhood memory was what spread 3002, but now they believe that communication of any memory whatsoever from an affected subject can spread 3002. This can be done through text, speech, mathematical formulas, and even thoughts in the case of telepathic entities, although I'm very curious how they learned that. Pretty much all affected individuals share memories of
I got
blonde
affected
girl
by
with a childhood
3002.
friend,
I did, dude.
Lily
The
Veselka.
SCP, they better like hit me
They
with some
remember her
amnestics
as
and just
coming
like
from an
wipe my
Eastern
memory.
European country, and that she asked them specific questions, such as, "What do you know about me?" and "Has the project finished?" The Foundation suspects that 3002 might be a sapient memetic hazard, as it seems to adapt to prevent its containment, and it also appears to be focusing on targeting individuals that create large amounts of information, or people who do large amounts of research on Slavic or Eastern European history and geography. It's suspected that much of the population of the Midwest USA is currently infected with 3002. 4 months after interviewing Dr. Vanderbilt, the RACA officer, Whitley, lost control of their vehicle while on vacation, suffering severe spinal injuries in the crash.
Oh god.
In the aftermath, a fellow RACA officer suspected that Whitley was under the influence of 3002, and so an interview was conducted between Whitley and the leading 3002 researcher,
So what
Dr.
fucking
Lloyd.
camera for? Hold on.
Lloyd asks Whitley if he remembers something from his
Oh,
childhood
God damn it.
involving
Hold on.
a girl named Lily Veselka, although he says to think closely, as she doesn't like
Oh,
to be
wrong
thought
thing,
about
wrong thing.
and she doesn't want to be.
Where is it?
Whitley cannot recall, and so Lloyd changes subjects, asking him why he decided to go on vacation.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Whitley responds
It's
by saying
happening
he felt
again.
a mild
The
compulsion
SCPs are
lately
fucking
to
with me right
research
now.
a
Oh
particular
god.
topic within Foundation files.
God
When
damn it.
asked if he acted on the urge,
First it was
Whitley says
ghosts.
that he
Now it's
recognized
3002.
compulsion as
Fucking
the
with my
effects
camera.
of a memetic
Sons of
hazard,
bitches. Leave
and
me
took the
alone.
proper countermeasures to remove it. He then says that after he had it removed, he then performed the research of his own volition to satisfy his curiosity. He goes on to say that he looked into files mentioning an entity similar to 3002, as well as a project known as Lethe. We'll get to Project Lethe in a moment. He finishes by telling Lloyd that he'd rather not say more, as his car crash was no accident. He claims that he was pressured off the road by 3 otherwise unrelated vehicles working in tandem. Lloyd tells him that he's contaminated with 3002 and withholding information, but Whitley says that he can't trust Lloyd, ending the interview.
What the fuck?
Shortly afterwards, Whitley was terminated due to being infected with 3002.
God damn, just fucking straight up
Sometime afterwards,
fucking shot
the
him.
Foundation gleaned some information from an unknown source about a research facility in a national park in Ukraine. Agents dispatched to the location found an underground facility in ruins, seemed to have been abandoned for a few years. Markings and documents indicate that it was an SCP Foundation
His own volition,
facility,
huh? Sounds like
although
gaslighting
no
to me.
records existed. The agents did, however, find some evidence of recent activity with
Dude, the SCP organization has to be
including a
like,
large number
for
of
sure,
cursed
gaslighting people at
documents
certain
and missing
points.
hard drives
After they
from
like hit them with
computers.
some mystics, they're just like yeah,
One of the
this never
facility's
happened.
furnaces
You're just
was
crazy.
activated shortly before the agents arrived, and contained traces of human DNA matching a redacted SCP. They did,
redacted.
however, manage to find one document that turned out to be readable.
Oh boy.
Due to its importance in relation to SCP-3002, I'll read it in its entirety. Velis. I do not believe continuing active work on Project Lethe is a productive use of our resources. While Lethe has been an invaluable tool for averting broken masquerade-type scenarios, having the project rely on a single anomaly has been causing undue stress in the subject. She has been displaying decreasingly less motor and cognitive function, which may be a consequence of the invasive equipment being used for the procedure.
Oh boy.
As an example of her cognitive deterioration, she does not respond or register her previous name or designation. In addition to that, she has been becoming increasingly less willing to work with the technicians, to the point of resorting to self-harm in attempts to avoid the procedures.
No, what the fuck,
At
dude?
the current moment, she is under constant observation due to the fact that she attempted suicide several days ago.
Oh my god.
We're not entirely sure how, but it is currently believed she hit a dining utensil during a meal and sharpened it over the next few weeks.
Unless
We
it was a
had
knife,
previously
that would
attempted
make
to
sense, but
avoid
if,
this type of
maybe a
emotional
fork too, I
distress
don't know.
by letting her participate in the various hobbies or activities she enjoyed prior to containment, such as photography and reading. With all that said, I do believe a controllable mass amnestic or memory-altering anomaly is practical in the event of a broken masquerade scenario, so continuing research and development in this field would be wise. As we know for a fact that the memetic trigger used in Lethe is present in all but a negligible amount of the population, perhaps we could alter it to give us further control over their memories, instead of acting as an anchoring point for our subject.
What the fuck?
Since we've included the trigger with the neural archetype scans from Yellowstone, a procedure that is not reliant on a human subject would allow for continued use past the lifespan of our current subject.
What the fuck?
The agents also discovered a surgical theater fitted with equipment for invasive neurosurgery, apparently frequently used. Medical documents and restraints indicate the procedures were done on a conscious subject or subjects.
Oh my god.
Before we get to the final iteration then, I'll summarize the story of SCP-3002. As you might have figured, SCP-3002 is, or once was, Lily Veselka, although that's not her birth name. The author suggests that she took on that name after forgetting her original name. There's an implication that Lily was originally SCP-105, Iris, a blonde female of European descent.
Whoa, what? No, don't tell me, dude. If that's true, that's so fucked. Cause I thought Iris was gonna. Iris is like one of my favorite SCPs, dude. Cause like, oh man.
But I'll leave that up to you.
Hold on, wait. I'm gonna go back.
Lily name after forgetting her original name. There's an implication that Lily was originally SCP-105, Iris, a blonde female of European descent. But I'll leave that up to you. Lily was taken into the Ukrainian facility for experimentation as part of Project Lethe. Lethe is a classical Greek word meaning oblivion, or forgetfulness,
Oh, God.
and is connected in Greek mythology to forgetfulness. Project Lethe was basically an attempt to create a global
Wait, what do you mean by
amnesty
that? Is that...
that
Are you
didn't rely
fucking...
on
Are you just
chemicals
making a joke? Or
and could be
is that something
controlled
that's
by
in the SCP
Foundation.
universe, too? Something about Yellowstone.
Secrecy is paramount to the Foundation, and the risk of a broken masquerade scenario, in which the world learns of anomalies, is a constant one. Being able to quickly reverse such a situation at a moment's notice was apparently worth doing continual brain surgery on a young girl. This invasive surgery continued to degrade her mental well-being, causing her to eventually become suicidal. The reason why Project Lethe was viable was because of a mimetic trigger that was apparently present in almost every human on Earth. This trigger was included with the neural archetype scans from Yellowstone, according to the document, which, in other words, is where SCP-2000 is located.
Now I have to search for that one, because swear to God, sometimes SCPs are so much connected that I don't even know. SCP-2000? Alright, let's see what this one is. Oh! It's like reanimated corpses? Or like clones? Okay, maybe I'll look more into that later. For now, let's continue. Interesting, though.
SCP-2000 is the facility designed to recreate the population of the Earth in case of disaster.
Oh, what the fuck? Hold on.
Designed to is located. SCP-2000 is the facility designed to recreate the population of the Earth in case of disaster.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
The Foundation have now
That's all I pretty much
included
needed to
a
know.
mimetic trigger with people recreated from SCP-2000, which is practically everyone currently alive, except for presumably 051 and 052, who seem to oversee Project Lethe. Ultimately, the project was shut down. Lily was burned in a furnace, and most of the Foundation was none the wiser. According to the author, however, one of the D-Class that Project Lethe used for testing was eventually released back into the prison population and sent to South Rock Penitentiary in Indiana. This prisoner was effectively patient 0 for the 3002 infection, as Lily still existed in his mind as a thought. This thought was spread to other prisoners through a memory, and so on.
I'm sorry, I just can't get it out of my head that, like, they possibly killed Iris for this, and I'm hating that so much, because if that's true, oh man, I'm so pissed off. I'm sorry, that irks me. I'm so sorry. Alright, let's continue.
The reason why the prisoners began forgetting the memory when the Foundation arrived was because Lily didn't want to be caught, and so she hid inside their minds. She was able to spread into the Foundation, however, and began accessing secure documents to try and hunt down those responsible for Project Lethe.
Good.
She's continually grown more aware of her own capabilities as she spreads across the population, being able to access practically anyone with the mimetic trigger. Moving on to the final iteration then. The containment procedures are simple. Anyone contaminated by SCP-3002 is to be destroyed, including former staff, family, and acquaintances. Staff must be vetted by 051 or 052 before gaining access to this document or any remaining staff, suggesting that there aren't many left not infected. SCP-3002 is now classified as a sapient mimetic entity capable of, and currently attempting to, completely erase human consciousness. It resides in any information or memory to which it has access, and while within a human mind, it is capable of mimicking altering, or removing memories with no known limits. This
Interesting.
allows 3002 to completely control an individual, generally for the purpose of spreading 3002.
Hold on.
It is currently believed that 78% of the human population is infected, and that 84% of new information created since 2014 is infected with 3002. Several key personnel with the Foundation were infected since discovery, allowing 3002 to avoid being properly detected or analyzed. The Foundation admits that containment is impossible, and begins accepting termination proposals from the remaining personnel. One proposal is to reach out to other groups of interest for help. Most of the groups don't respond, but the FBI's UIU division did send a response, although it was infected with 3002. The Chaos Insurgency sent an unintelligible voice recording. Marshall, Carter, and Dark also sent a response infected with 3002. Are We Cool Yet sent a bunch of plans for anomalous art pieces.
Are we cool yet?
The
Okay,
Serpent's
I
Hand sent a message saying that they fear that she is among them. And Nobody sent a message reading, "You should have expected this." A Dr. Connor Teach...
Okay, hold on. Are these are so many other groups that I now have to look into for the SCP. I think we'll do that next time we stream. We'll be looking into every other organization in the SCP universe.
Suggested using SCP-2000 to repopulate the Earth, but the proposal was declined. Another doctor suggested creating an anti-meme to destroy 3002, which was attempted but failed. Dr. Teach again suggested SCP-2000, but was declined. Dr. Teach then suggested looking further into Project Lethe to find a way to destroy 3002, but the proposal was also declined, and Teach was terminated due to suspicion he was infected. Throughout the course of these proposals, the number of O5 votes for each one has steadily declined, from 13 votes to 10 to 9 to 8 and to 4. Finally, the last proposal reads simply "restart," with 1 vote for yes and 1 vote for no. This is a rather ambiguous ending, as it seems that over time, more and more of the population became infected with 3002, including the O5 Council of the Foundation. In the end, only 2 remain, them unable to agree on the restart proposal, and us left with no info on what that might entail.
Yeah.
Do they manage to save the planet once again against all odds? Or does the world come to its final end? Some might be against an SCP that stretches reality to an actual conclusion of the human race, but either way, the writing here is certainly creative. The Foundation set out with good intentions, as far as they believe, but they ended up being punished by the severity of the consequences. Like I said, there are plenty of SCPs that deal with memories, thoughts, and sapience, but SCP-3002 pushes the concept to perhaps its most frightening.
I'm not sure if this means she's back or if these are just jumbles of her memories. Thoughts? Is there a possibility Project Lethe had additional side effects we didn't account for? I want to make sure that this won't come back to hurt us. Keep an eye on this. A. Velez, O5 Command. Interesting. Dude, but that's an interesting thing. And if they restarted, that would have been awesome because it pushed them to their boundaries. And we finally have an SCP that technically kind of won. But if not, and the O5 pulled through somehow, that would be interesting as fuck too. But I'm still pissed that if they actually did kill off Iris, I'm gonna be so fucking pissed. That's kind of fucked, man. Come on. All right. Next up, the Black Moon. What was this one? Oh, the End of Death. We'll watch this later. We'll watch that later. We'll watch it the next time we come. But this one, we're watching this now. It's 23 minutes. Let's see, how much time do I got before I have to open, which means I have to be up at 6. It's 12:55. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 5 hours. I don't want to end it here, but I might have to, because how long have we been going on? It's been 3 hours, right? 2 hours. I better not be here. I swear to God. If it's not Iris, thank God. If it is Iris, I'ma beat the shit out of the SCP-05. Cause that's fucked, dude. I like it when they keep the original characters or like humans that are like that are involved in SCPs. For example, Iris. Fuck, who else is there? I don't know, but Iris seems like one of the characters that you should just keep around because technically, isn't she human? Isn't it the camera that's the SCP? Or I don't know. I forgot the whole story about her. But I know she's still human, so come on.
Does the Black Moon howl? No, not yet. See the boy. He was born in a time before names. There weren't enough humans around to need them back then. He was one of a handful occupying a coastal village, using a tongue long since dead. They eked out a simple life, hunting, gathering, fishing. The only thing on most of their minds was surviving to see the next sunrise. Yes, a simple life, free of complications, until the hermit appeared. The boy would remember this man for eternity, haggard and thin, skin weathered by time and pain. A man that, emaciated, walking with a long, gnarled cane that honestly looked healthier than he did, shouldn't be alive. Even the boy, who had scarcely seen beyond the bounds of his village, knew that the hermit was unnatural, an aberration, an anomaly. He walked into the center of the village, sat down on a large stone, and waited. Nobody dared ask his business, nor what the hermit waited for. Then, a few days later, the Black Moon howled. The boy saw the village's youngest hunter freeze one evening while out on a walk. Not simply stand still, but freeze. Then, for an instant, he became solid black, a coal statue, and as soon as he'd changed, he was gone, obliterated.
God,
Not a
someone
trace
fucking
of him
Thanos snapped him.
remained. Such is the power of the Black Moon. It can make any conscious being disappear.
Alright, well, if you're gonna go, bro, I think I'm gonna go too. Cause yeah, I got work early in the morning. But hey, this has been fun. I guess what we'll do is we'll pick up right on here and then we'll explore some other ones. I think the plan is that we're gonna pick up from here, watch the other one that I have on here as well, and then look into the other organizations that the SCP universe has, explore that a little bit. And it'll be either that or I'll do like an Elden Ring stream with my brother. So yeah, but hey, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of the stream. I hope you have a good night. I hope you sleep well. You know, do whatever you got to do tomorrow. Have fun, and yeah, I'll see you next time. All right, peace out and have a good night.